TNN Motorsports proudly presents live exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 from the North Carolina Motor Speedway near Rockingham. Dale Earnhardt. Should he gain 50 points on Rusty Wallace today, the Winston Cup championship is his. NASCAR has advanced the starting time and they have already fired the engine. So without further ado, let's proceed straight to the diehards starting grid for today's race. On the pole, Ricky Rudd, new track record, 16th career pole. Terry Labonte makes his first front row start since '91. Jeff Bodine and Derek Cope with his best effort of the year in row number 2. Brett Bodine and Morgan Shepherd, Ward Burton and Rick Mast in the 4th row. And as we scroll through the starting grid and they begin the pace laps, let me introduce to you the 2 experts that'll call today's race. Buddy Baker, a 2-time pole winner here, came within 4 laps of victory on this track. He's been a second here twice. David Pearson, 5-time pole sitter and 5-time winner at Rockingham, clinched the 1966 National Driving Championship at this track. And David, I imagine that's no easier a task to do today for Earnhardt than it was for you then.
I don't believe it's as quite as easy now as it was back then, because Earnhardt has got some tough competition out there, and I'm telling you, with this track the way it is, new surface and everything, everybody's going to be running as hard as they can. You know, there's not even a second difference between first place and last place, so they really some tough competition out there.
Buddy, yesterday's race was punctuated by 11 caution flags for spins and crashes and a lot of attempted 3-wide racing that didn't work out real well. We're going to see that today.
We're definitely going to see it, but the bad part is you've got so much grip on this racetrack that you start off in the corner 3 wide and there's just not room for 3 cars to make it into the corner right. You have contact getting in the corner, you have big wrecks. So these guys really have to watch themselves at the first part of this race.
We're just a lap away from going green, and today you'll be riding with Mark Martin in the Jack Roush Valvoline Reese's Ford. Martin won yesterday's AC-Delco 200, races from 10th starting spot. Cleaning the tires is Jeff Gordon in the Rick Hendrick-owned DuPont Finishes Chevrolet. Also Jeremy Mayfield driving for Cale Yarborough in the Fingerhut Ford, starting way back in '39. We'll be riding with him. And with Derek Cope in the mane and tail Bobby Allison Motorsports Ford. Best career start, 4th for Derek Cope. Or best season qualifying effort, that is, as you see him behind Ricky Rudd and Terry Labonte on the front row. The light is out atop the Pontiac safety car, so we are going racing at the Rock.
Boy, I tell you, it's going to be exciting. One thing they haven't had is a lot of sunshine this week. It's been overcast. Today the sun is out, and I think you're going to see a loose condition on some of these cars. I was talking to Harry Gann about yesterday's race, and he said he adjusted all day. He'd go from extreme loose to extreme push in the corner.
Gann had a fine run, but came up short of victory lane. This is Harry Gann's final home state appearance. Here at Rockingham, you'll have our TNN 800 number to call in your questions all day long. The call is free, 800-451-7331. They'll take your calls in Nashville and relay them to us here in the booth. And we'll pass along questions to pit road or wherever need be to get them answered for you as our telecast goes on. 3 races to go in the 1994 Winston Cup season, and about to begin, Ricky Rudd in the Rudd Performance Motorsports Tide Ford brings them down to the green and gets a bit of a jump on Terry Labonte. Rudd clears Labonte and has the track all to himself going into turn number 1. Front 5 are single file, then Morgan Shepherd battles off the corner with Steve Grissom. Ricky got a good jump.
He really did. Of course, you know, the other guys is all right there, and he knows that he can run right on the bottom.
You see Jeff Bodine making a move right now to get in 2nd place. He's been very fast in practice. For some reason, when he does not sit on the pole, he runs better in the race. I don't know what it is, but Jeff Bodine is definitely on the way, and you see Terry Labonte dropping back a little bit.
Jeff Bodine came from 18th to win North Wilkesboro. There's Labonte right ahead of Brett Bodine in Quaker State Ford. Pretty much single file all the way through the top 20 spots as you look back from Derek Cope's 4th place car. Rather 3rd place car.
You know, Mike, you always hear Jeff Bodine's on Hoosiers and Ricky Rudd's on Goodyears, but let me tell you something. Jeff Bodine's probably one of the better race car drivers on this whole circuit, and it don't matter what tire he has on there. That's a great race team, a great race car, and a good driver.
Nobody wins on just because of their tire brand. There are a lot of cars here on Hoosiers. This is the one that's been winning. Jeff Bodine takes the lead from Ricky Rudd.
You know, if you watch him come off that corner, number 2 corner there, he has got some horsepower in that car. Watch him, he just pulls away from Ricky up straight away.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of people today, Mike. At the first part of this race, it's a guess, show and tell type of thing. Everybody's kind of waiting to see what happens on the adjustments they make on their cars. They didn't have a lot of practice here, so whoever leads right now does not mean that's going to be the outcome of the race by a long shot.
A lot of clouds here. Turn 1 is bathed in sunshine. The rest of the track is shaded.
Look at Derek Cope coming up here trying to get by Ricky Rudd. That's a good effort by Bobby Allison's team. This team has struggled. They've had a lot of collisions this year, but that car is really flying right now.
They've restructured that team a bit. Ron Zook, who bought the late Davey Allison's Busch team, is now a co-owner with Nathan Sims, Frank Plessinger, and Bobby Allison with that team. So they've done a bit of restructuring. They have mane and tail shampoo and hoping to hang on to them as a sponsor for next year. You're watching from Derek Cope's car. Back at pole sitter Ricky Rudd now in 3rd. Let's go back and pick up the championship battle. There is Dale Earnhardt. He is presently 18th. Right behind Jeff Gordon and Joe Nemechek, and Rusty Wallace is at the front of that pack in 13th position.
You see Earnhardt making a move on the outside there. No matter what he's going for, I don't care if it's for title or for win, he makes moves on a racetrack a lot of people don't even want to think about doing.
But you notice, buddy, he waited a few laps to find out just exactly that he got straight in line. Then he started knocking them off one by one on that outside. Right now, it's a little bit early for cars to start running 2 and 3 abreast in the corners.
Right now, Ricky Rudd's in trouble. He's on the outside of the racetrack, and the preferred line today seems to be right on the white line through the corner, and he's losing position after position right now.
Rudd the pole sitter. Brett Bodine goes past. Morgan Shepherd gets underneath. That's a long single file line. It's going to be tough to drop in there and get back single file.
Yeah, and that 6 car you seen in that last shot yesterday, he made winning look awful easy. Mark Martin knows this racetrack. He knows how to adjust his car. He's going to be a tough act to follow today.
Ricky Rudd's called into Bill Engel on the radio, says the car's quite loose.
Oh, that's awful. That's awful this early in the race. You're going, I could use a caution. I just don't want to be it.
Well, I expect he is kind of loose running that high as he was running right then, because there are a lot of sand on this racetrack, especially this early in the race, and the groove is right at the bottom.
We didn't get time to get down to the starting grid before today's race. Let's get some pre-race strategy thoughts from Randy Pemberton.
Well, a lot of these teams scuff tires. That means they put a few laps on them, then let them cool down on Friday and Saturday. Thought that might help the tire wear here. Buddy Parrott, crew chief for Rusty Wallace, told me we didn't scuff any tires. We planned to win this race. But really, that was just a segue for what I want to tell you. It was reported in the Charlotte Observer, one of the Bibles in the South, here this week, that Buddy Parrott will leave Rusty Wallace's team at the end of 1994. Hard to believe after winning 18 out of 58 races here in the last 2 years. Glenn Jarrett.
Well, Randy, I'm down in Dale Earnhardt's pits, down the #1 pit. They've actually got 2 pit spaces down here. They only pit 26 cars on the front stretch. Earnhardt's crowd has 2 pit spaces. He'll never get caught in the pits. I can tell you one thing for sure. Nobody on this team is going anywhere except to New York as the champion. Richard Childress and Andy Petrie both told me they were going to basically take what the race will give them early on, kind of feel things out. They got a long way to do that, a long day to do that. If Earnhardt can charge front and run up front, he'll do that, but they're just going to take it as it comes right up front. They said they can adjust the car easy way to stroke or to charge. They're just taking it as it comes right now.
Well, Glenn, he's not just riding around. Earnhardt started this race in 20th position. Trouble turn 2. One car spins up toward and smacks the wall. Billy Standridge in the World Championship Wrestling, number 47.
Boy, oh boy, was he ever lucky. You talk about doing the right thing. He held the brakes, and there was about 8 or 9 cars went on the flat to go by him. If he'd have let loose on the brakes, there'd have been a multi-car pile up there.
Show you what happened here to Billy Standridge to bring out the first caution flag at lap 13.
Well, he just backed her in the wall. Now watch him come down here, and you see the cars making evasive action right here on the bottom of the racetrack. He checks up right here and stops the car. Well, we're away from it there, but he stopped on the bank. If he'd come down on flat, it'd have been a big wreck.
Set on the quarter panel, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair. I think the Hulkster got the worst of that one. We're under the first caution of the day at Rockingham. We'll be right back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Goodyear, #1 in tires. By Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. By cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. And by Ford and your Ford truck dealers. Ford Trucks, the best never rest.
They've just waved the green flag to restart the AC-Delco 500. Jeff Bodine out in front. Derek Cope has gone to second place. Terry Labonte's running in third. And Ward Burton, who started seventh, has moved up to fourth.
Yeah, and Rick Masters moved up to fifth. Good run for Rick. Good to see him running well. He's had so many good runs this year and had problems right near the end of the race. But he says he thinks he can win this race. His car is really hooked up.
Pole sitter last fall at Atlanta. Driving for Richard Jackson in that Skoll Ford. Here comes Ward Burton with a look at Terry Labonte.
You know, that's a backup car that Ward Burton's running. He crashed in practice the other day, and they rolled the car off. And I said, what kind of car do you think it is as far as a backup car goes? And he says, well, you won't believe this, but it's a car we really wanted to fix and didn't have time to fix it. So now we have time to fix it and get it ready for the race.
Ricky Rudd continues to backslide. Rick Sachs had a look underneath, nothing there. As you look up toward the front, and Burton again goes after Terry Labonte. Both Chevrolets, but Labonte's on Goodyears and Burton's on Hoosiers.
I think you just seen a 21-year-old move right there. And I tell you what, Ward Burton is hooked up, and he had that timing down where he was within inches of touching Terry Labonte. But you know, one nice thing about young eyes, they see things that sometimes a little bit older guy wouldn't do.
Here's Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt right behind him, 11th and 12th. David, one thing we're seeing is drivers timing the pass coming off the corner instead of trying to jam into the corner two abreast.
That's true, Matt, because right now, like I said, the groove is right on bottom, and what they're trying to do is get their speed up, running right on bottom, and just catching them just coming off the corner. And when you do that, if you can come off, go through the corner fast, you can go straight away fast. So that's what they're doing all the passing up straight away.
Well, what it is, I mean, it's just like at Darlington. A lot of times making a pass going in the corner in 3. There's Greg Sachs getting up under Terry Labonte. I mean, Ricky Rudd, and had a little contact there, but I would just say hey and goodbye. But you can see Ricky certainly has a handling problem. He's going right back through the crowd. Looks like Dale Earnhardt sitting there just watching Rusty and saying, well, I'll just keep you right in front of me, and we'll do this thing, and if you go by one, I'll pass one. That'd be a nice way to be going for the national championship, just sitting on the guy that's trying to catch his back bumper.
Dale Earnhardt must gain 50 points to clinch the championship today. And in the wall is Loy Allen in the Hooters Ford, turn 2. Everybody's going to get past without incident. But turn 2 collected Billy Standridge at lap 13. Now 10 laps later, the caution's out for the second time as Ward Burton spins in turn 2.
I hate to see that, because Ward, he worked so hard and run so good here. So I hate to see that.
Loy Allen bringing out this second caution flag. And
we're going to get a look at it here. You see Loy's in trouble right there. He's backing towards the wall. He hits really hard there, but he has the presence of mind now. When he starts down the racetrack, he puts the brakes on and does not run towards these cars that are trying to come by him. See him sitting there. If you'll stay still, they'll get by you.
Bit of damage they'll have to repair on the Hooters Ford among the car. We certainly expect Ricky Rudd to be in on this caution, and here he comes. They're still working on Billy Standridge's car, trying to get him back in the race after that first spin. And now here comes Rudd down pit road to correct a loose chassis condition.
Yeah, you'll see him go with the weight jacker to the back of the car and really work on that thing to tighten it up.
Let's have a look. Here's Glenn Jarrett in Ricky's pit.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I was just checking with the crew chief, Billy Engel. He says they're going to take a rubber out of the right rear to soften that rear spring up, try to make it get a little better bite. Obviously, they're going to take advantage of this also to change 4 tires. They've got the right size done, coming around to the left now, but no wedge change, just taking that rubber out of the right rear. That should do the trick. That car was awfully loose. You can see it. He could not carry the car in the corner at all. He's down and away.
Rudd, the pole sitter and track record holder, back on track after an early stop. We'll be right back to Rockingham Live on TNN after this. Still under caution here at Rockingham, but given one to go as you watch from our steel aerial platform. Steel chainsaws and outdoor equipment, bringing you these helicopter mounted shots of the Rock. Here's the way they're running after 26 laps. Already we're into the second caution period of this race. 3 Fords at the front of the field, 2 Chevrolets. Loy Allen, who also was involved in accidents here in this spring's and last October's race, has taken his car to the garage. Billy Standridge was back on pit road but has rejoined the field and ready to go racing once again. Back under green. Jeff Bodine hauls them off into turn 1. Terry Labonte had a brief look inside Ward Burton, nothing there. And it's a single file restart with all these cars on the lead lap. Correct that Billy Standridge could also go to the garage.
You know, Mike, usually you can't tell when a racetrack gets so much faster than what it is now, but you can visually see these cars. They're just absolutely flying around this racetrack. They're running in excess of 167 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway here.
Can you imagine how much pressure there are on them tires going through that corner like that? If the driver got to thinking about that, I expect he would back off a little bit.
Here comes Earnhardt under Mark Martin. Gives him room down on the bottom to go. Randy Pemberton.
Well, the update on both Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt as they chase this championship. Rusty Wallace says his car is a little bit loose. First chance they get, they're going to come in, crank around a wedge in it, try and tighten them up a little bit. As far as Earnhardt goes, he said he likes his car quite a bit. They may just mess around with the air pressure in his good years just a little, see if they can make it better. Expect these guys to come in the pits about lap 75 or so if they don't catch a caution around lap 50.
You know, Mike, a long time ago, when the tires were pretty bad, if you had a caution with 30 laps into an event, you'd automatically pull in and get 4 new tires. The tires are so good now, you just don't have the runoff that you had like a long time ago.
You know, Rick Mast just went by Derek Cope. He was running.
Made it look easy.
He did.
Look at the hood on that thing. I mean, it is moving around. That's not a paper hood either. That's a metal hood that's moving like that. That's how much air is going over these cars. So aerodynamics anymore on a mile track are just about as important as it used to be at Daytona or a place like that.
Well, the speeds you're running here down the street, you got to be running nearly 180 going into the corner to run 160 mile an hour lap here, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was just thinking to say, I've took cars to Daytona. I'm pretty proud of them. It wouldn't run as fast as they're running here at Rockingham now.
Yeah, back then, that's all the faster they run.
Well, you ought to know about it. You're there. Don't start on me about it.
Okay, she's been going with it. I know the first time I went to Daytona, I stuck my arm out to under the motion. The slow down, they had a caution, like it broke my arm. It flew back.
Well, there's the car, the number of which David Pearson made famous, the 21 of the Wood brothers. Morgan Shepherd aboard in 7th place in the Citgo car. When David drove it, it was white with a red roof and gold numerals and Purelator on the side. And they won a lot of races together.
You can see Jeff Gordon beginning to get that steering wheel moving a little bit. He's one of the reasons they get in trouble here is they have to do so much steering in the corner. They get the wheels cut real hard to the left, and then they hit the straightaway, and the car kind of unloads on the right rear, makes the back end jump out.
Here's your Napa Field standing update. Napa, we keep America running. Here's how they're running.
You know, just a little bit ago, they said that Buddy Parrott was leaving Rusty Wallace. That is really a surprise to me because what a great team. I know they hate that has to happen, but, you know, in competition, that's one thing you can do to really improve your program is to get somebody like a Buddy Parrott to get everything moving in the right direction.
Let's move up, buddy, to this battle for third. Derek Cope and Terry Labonte go at it, along with Ward Burton.
Well, you see Terry Labonte right there. He's about like David Pearson. You'll never know how fast that race car is till near the end of the race. He'll sit there and run along in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and places like that. And you'll think he's pretty much out of it, and all of a sudden he'll be leading this thing.
It might be like me. Back when I was running, everybody thought I was laying back, but I was running hard. Of course, we adjusted on the car every pit stop. And I know recall back that, you know, we was probably the first ones, or the Woods was, to ever start measuring the tires. And that's how sneaky the guys was. They would not let anybody see them measure the tires. And if I wanted just a little bit of wedge, what they would do is do it in the tire stagger and stuff like that. And nobody never knew we ever changed anything. So that's why everybody thought I was back there laying back, but I just couldn't run no harder.
Paid off with 105 victories, though, in Winston Cup competition for David Pearson. We are 37 laps into the AC-Delco 500. We'll be right back. 42 laps complete at Rockingham. Here's the leaderboard and the interval back from Jeff Bodine. Of the top 5 cars, Rick Mast just a quarter second back. There is a report that perhaps there is trouble developing on Rusty Wallace's car. Here's Randy.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Mike. The guy that reported it was Earnhardt. Of course, he's running behind him back there. Said Rusty was spitting a little water. The 2 team is aware of it. Rusty checked his water temp. It's about 210, which I would speculate, Buddy and Dave, I think that that's acceptable so far. So they're not panicked down here, but they're in a little bit of a discussion in the 2 pits.
Well, 210 is nothing to worry about. When it gets over around 220, 225, that's when you really get nervous. But this early in the race, a lot of times the car will run hotter than it will later on in the race as everything kind of loosens up in there. You can see a little moisture on this camera there on front, though. You can see it on the lens there. They're cleaning it off now, but it had built up a little bit of spray behind Earnhardt there.
Another thing, but don't you think that Earnhardt is kind of wishing Rusty going to pits for a few minutes there?
Well, you know, I'm sure that Earnhardt knows the importance of the day. He would not report something that anybody had going wrong, you know, with this kind of money and everything up for points and all. That's my story.
Yeah, you stick to it. That's one of your stories.
Well, Rusty's running awful well to have any problems right now.
We asked Rusty yesterday, what needs to happen for you to have a chance to overhaul Dale Earnhardt and win this Winston Cup championship?
It's a no-brainer right now, really. I mean, all I can do is go out and run my guts out, run as hard as I can, and hope he has some promise. But I'll tell you what, I never give up. Stuff looking grim right now, and I'm going to really have to stand on it. He's going to have some ungodly, terrible luck.
That water temp has come back down. He called into the crew, says down to 195. So
that's either good or bad. I've had them go up to 260, blow all the water out, and they go back the other way then. But I'm sure there hadn't been enough water out of that car for it to be out of water. He probably moved around in traffic and all and got the car running cooler.
Now, as you know, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. But when it's in a cooling system like this under pressure, that raises the boiling point considerably. So 210 on the gauge would not really be a concern.
Oh, yeah. I've run races where I had 250 on the water and go for a long distance.
I noticed Rusty there is getting under Gordon now. He was running awful close to him, right up behind him. Anytime you run behind somebody like that, naturally you're going to run a little bit harder than you do in front of them, or a lot of times you have to pull out, of course, to the side, you know, and get a little air in it, then it'll cool back down. Or pat the throttle, get a lot of gas running through it. That'll also cool it down.
Well, if it goes like it has been going, Earnhardt will pass Gordon here in just a second. He made a pass every time the 2 cars passed. Earnhardt's come right along with him.
Now, I don't see anything on Jeff Gordon's windshield. We may not, the way that camera is focused out ahead, but it doesn't look like there's any fluid buildup on Gordon's windshield at this point. And Rusty's getting on. He's going after Morgan Shepherd.
Yeah,
makes the pass for 7th.
Morgan just moved over and let him go. I think Morgan knows it's early in the race, so he's not going to panic.
So Wallace moves up to 7th. Earnhardt is 10th. In the chase for the championship, Jeff Bodine leads this race over Rick Mast.
You know, you notice right there, they look like the moisture still on his windshield, so it could be coming from Earnhardt.
Hard to say at this point.
Well, a while ago you were in-car camera, and that's a roof cam there that actually gets the moisture from the outside, where inside the race car you wouldn't pick up the moisture on the windshield quite as well as you would from the camera on top of the car.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it as the race goes on. Boy, Rick Mast is all over Jeff Bodine.
All over.
You know, we're talking about the point standings all, which is great, but these guys right here, like Rick Mast, he hadn't won a Winston Cup race yet, and nothing he'd want to do more than win today, and he has really got the pressure on Jeff Bodine at this moment.
And as we'll show you later, the points pay all the way back to 25th position. So every one of these drivers is likely fighting for a position that's going to mean money in their pocket at season's end. Bodine is 15th in the points. Rick Mast is 18th. Those spots pay pretty well.
They just lapped over Bobby Hamilton. He tore 2 cars, I mean, in half in practice here. And that second car there, they had to see if they had a provisional to get in this race because they just patched it up. So Bobby runs running super good.
Oh, Brett Bodine. And Kenny Bernstein scored.
That could be the moisture that you were seeing a while ago. It might have been just ahead of Rusty because you see Rusty going by there. They were right behind Brett Bodine. He might have been running a little warm beforehand.
I would say that's where it was coming from.
Well, we're going to have a look at it on pit road, but that was a lot of smoke.
You know, Mike, one thing you don't like right here, both those cars got sprayed down really bad when that car started smoking like that, and you got to run that windshield where you can't hardly see out of it, like Jeff Gordon and Earnhardt there. Windshields are not that good after you get sprayed like that.
56 laps complete here at Rockingham. We'll be right back. Tonight at 8:30, Pat Patterson hosts Race Day live from right here at Rockingham with all the highlights from yesterday's 200 and today's 500 on TNN. Battle for the lead, Rick Mast.
He's got it.
Boy, oh boy, that car is hooked up, David. That was a power move there. He just went right to the bottom and right on by.
He just turned right on in and went right on to the bottom and on by.
So Rick Mast takes the lead from Jeff Bodine. Brett Bodine is back in the race. Reported rear end trouble. That was not an engine letting go on the Quaker State Ford. Let's go down to Rick Mast's pit. Here's Glenn.
Well, Mike, Rick Mast has spent his entire Winston Cup career driving for this man, Richard Jackson. You guys have really come on strong this year, Richard, but, man, I don't think I've ever seen your car that strong early on in the race.
No, this car is real strong. It's a car we took to Indy, built for Indy. It ran good up there. We had a little problem up there. Still didn't run good in the race, but it seems to be our best race car.
Nothing like getting that first win here in your home state of North Carolina.
That'd be great.
And not only did that car run well in Indianapolis, he sat on the pole up there, guys. It is an exceptional race car. They say it's the best one they have. This is the best they've got.
Rick Mast has led 6 different races this year and has 2 third-place finishes here in February and Michigan in August.
You know, David, when you have a car that's working like that, it's almost a shame to take the money when they pay you after a race. I mean, I've told the Wood brothers when I drove with them one time, I said, you know, it's a shame you got to pay me half the money to drive something that good.
Is that what they said?
No. That's what
okay. Jeff Gordon's just gotten past Derek Cope. You're looking from the straight arrow Ford.
You see, Jeff is running a little bit higher. He's not right down on the white line getting in the corner there. He's moving around right now, trying to find a place that car runs good and clean off the corner.
See, Derek Cope does come in right on the white line, and then the car drifts up just about half a lane, and here comes Earnhardt and Mark Martin and Kenny Schrader. You know, Schrader's on a tear. He started way deep in the field. Schrader's come from 24th spot up to battle with this pack.
And Rusty Wallace has moved all the way up in the top 5 now, so he's letting her all go. Like you said, there's no reason to hold back now.
He knows he's going to have to go up, and if he can, lead the race and get the extra 5 points. So he's going to be doing all he can do. And he's going to have to win the championship.
All right, we're watching from Derek Cope's rear bumper. And now from Mark Martin with Earnhardt just ahead as they lap past Bobby Hamilton. Earnhardt keeps working that bottom.
You know, Dick Brooks is getting a taste of car owner now since the Bobby's tore up 2 cars.
Yeah, he had a walletectomy, I think.
The boys had to work all night to get that car ready to go back in today.
Right now, what this graphic on the upper left shows you is Rusty Wallace in this position is 13 points ahead of Earnhardt on the day. As the race leader gets into traffic, 3 wide as Steve Grissom comes sliding through the front stretch grass and gets it squared away. There's his car down on the apron. He's going to get going again.
It don't look like there'll be a caution. He's refired and start going away now. He'll have to come in, get him some tires, and get back in the fray here.
Die-Hard batteries on the Gary Bechtel car this weekend, and it's rumored that's where Buddy Parrott may be headed next year as he leaves the Roger Penske team.
Well, they couldn't have hired anybody any better than Buddy Parrott.
I'll show you what happened to Steve Grissom here.
Whoa, he just got loose coming up off the corner. Now, one good part about this is that this grass right here scrubs off a lot, but it don't flat spotty tires like if you were up on the blacktop. So if he refires that thing, he can make it to a caution or whatever.
Well, he come close to messing up the AC-Delco sign, didn't he?
Boy, Rick Mast is going through his traffic like a knife through hot butter right at the moment.
Dale Jarrett didn't make the show at Wilkesboro, came right back and won Charlotte, and here he is going a lap down, just 70 laps into this race. Up and down.
He's not a lap down yet. I tell you, when they start calling you, the spotters say, okay, the leader's 2 seconds behind, 1 second behind, and your tongue's out there about halfway to the steering wheel on a race car. I tell you what, it's a frustrating thing this early in the race.
Especially when you know you can't do anything about it like that.
Those are good race cars there. You see Kenny Wallace is leading that pack. That's Michael Waltrip there in the yellow car, and the green and black car there was last week's winner.
Boy, Kenny Schrader is flying. Now Schrader is 4th in the points. He is just 4 points behind Mark Martin for 3rd. Neither one could win the Winston Cup, but either could be 3rd or perhaps 2nd. And Schrader started 24th, and he has moved up to 7th. That Kodiak car. Budweiser Red goes on that Rick Hendrick car next year with Schrader. 72 laps complete at the Rock. We'll be right back live on TNN.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Napa. We keep America running.
Pit stops for the leaders will be coming up soon. Now, some of the cars, Greg Sachs and Joe Nemechek most recently, once they've been lapped by leader Rick Mast, have come into the pits for tires. And there you see Nemechek, who came back out right in front of Mast, as did Greg Sachs. But a number of good cars have gone a lap down here. Kenny Wallace, Dale Jarrett, Ted Musgrave have all fallen a lap down to Rick Mast, who has been a rocket these first 50 laps.
There's a good idea what new tires are going to do for you. You see Joe Nemechek right there just going right on by.
Yeah, the guys that pitted, definitely, they're running faster.
Sterling Marlin's moved up into the top 10 in the Morgan McClure Kodak Chevy with that move past Morgan Shepherd. Now Billy Standridge comes out of the garage and back into the race. Ted Musgrave made a pit stop, and I think there was contact a moment ago between Brett Bodine and Dale Earnhardt. Brett Bodine is weaving a bit in turn 2 to get, may have cut down a tire. Let's show you what happens there.
Boy, he just went in the corner really hard and got up in the side of Earnhardt there with the right rear corner. Both of them were very lucky there, especially Earnhardt. He could have been turned a little more towards the wall and got in trouble big time.
Dale Earnhardt's called in, says the car's okay. Brett Bodine started 5th today, and that's been a bad spot for him to start. At Darlington, lost an engine. Charlotte, he crashed. Darlington 29th and Dover 26th, all starting from 5th position. This is a scheduled stop for Rusty Wallace. Randy's there.
Well, they're calling for 4 tires and go ahead and crank in around a wedge. This team has been consistent all year long on pit stop, and it's probably due to one man. He's the jack man, Scott Robinson. This car goes nowhere until the jack is dropped after 4 tires. Absolute 1 pump up. Buddy Parrott puts the left front on for Billy Wilburn. Right rear is done, or left rear is done. 18.7 for the lefts. He's down and away.
Good stop.
That was a good quick stop. You know, I just wonder how you feel. You know, they had pit crew race yesterday, 18 and 19 seconds, and seen a bunch of lug nuts, which was loose. What do you think about today when they have these 16, 17 seconds? Don't you think the driver thinks about that a little bit?
Maybe just a little. Mark Martin is in. Derek Cope is in. Harry Gant completes his stop. All at lap 84. Tire changes on both. Get that tire out of the way, and Derek Cope pulls out.
You know, you were watching just then, Mike.
Oh, Greg Sachs has taken, and Rick Mast have gone to the wall hard. That's the race leader.
Man, that is. Every once in a while, you just see things you don't even like to look at. That's one of them right there. Rick Mast drove a perfect race there. He was trying to put a lap on Greg Sachs, and they got together somehow. That's tough luck right there.
Lucky break for Kenny Wallace, who was on pit road, and Ward Burton and Darrell Waltrip. They all kept going through and did not stop at their. No, Waltrip did make his stop, excuse me. But Kenny Wallace and Ward Burton drove right on through to stay on the lead lap. Might be a break for Earnhardt because Wallace, with his pit stop, has gone a lap down.
And I would say his crew would like to look at that car. There was a little contact a little while ago. I'm sure they'd like to look at it and just make sure it's as good as he said it is.
We're under caution for the third time today, and it comes right in the middle of green flag pit stops. We'll sort it out for you when we come back. We're under caution here at Rockingham. The leader, Rick Mast, has crashed. Dale Earnhardt's on pit road. More tire changing away. Dale Earnhardt came into this race with a 321-point lead over Rusty Wallace. That lead had been much shorter before Charlotte. Here's our Haviland update for this week. The Winston Cup points chase took perhaps a pivotal turn at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt battled back and forth throughout much of the event. But here, Wallace's Ford goes up in smoke. And so too, perhaps, did his title hopes. With Wallace in the garage, Earnhardt used a combination of skill and luck to avoid Bobby Labonte's fireball and a spinning Bill Elliott just in front of him. Despite minor crash damage, Earnhardt soldiered on to a third-place finish. So today, Dale needs to put 50 more points on the board than Rusty to end the championship chase. And look how close Mark Martin and Kenny Schrader are for third place, just 4 points apart. Rick Mast's car is able to continue. After that bout into the wall, here's what happened.
Well, they're going down in the corner. Rick Mast is under him. He gets up into Greg Sachs. They make contact there. And now, this is the problem right here. They got together and it turned both cars towards the outside wall, and then he knocked Sachs out. It's a bad thing. He got in there a little bit stiff and got inside of Sachs.
Now, as that was happening at one end of the racetrack, Dale Earnhardt was looking for pit road. He had slowed. Bobby Labonte went past.
Whew.
Then the radio says, oops. He stays out there.
Boy, I tell you, that could have been very bad if he'd have come in there with the pit road.
That's where the spotter
like
comes in handy good, and looking ahead for him.
Now, here's our situation. On the racetrack, Rusty Wallace, had we continued under green, was a lap down to Rick Mast because he'd already made his pit stop. So he is now toward the tail end of the lead lap, behind the pace car because all the lead lap cars pitted. He is now at the tail end of the lead lap along with Derek Cope, Mark Martin. And here is the damage to the US Air Jasper Engines car of Greg Sachs.
Man, that's a lot of damage right there on that right front corner. That's a working part of the race car. You don't like to see them torn up like that.
Glenn Jarrett.
Well, guys, I'm in Dale Earnhardt's pit. Everybody was gathered around to have a TV monitor here. They film their pit stops. You can see right now that they're gonna wait on the car to come in. I said, well, they're getting ready to queue it up right now. Then all the crew gathers around. They watch what everybody does. They make sure that everybody's doing their job. They have greatly improved their pit times. Now, I asked Richard Childress if there was a problem with the car after that altercation with Brett Bodine. He said that Dale radioed in that it did make the front end of the car skate a little bit after that happened. They haven't had a chance to look at it yet. There's nothing rubbing, but it could have knocked the toe in out just a little bit. They made a slight chassis adjustment. The car was getting a little tight, but they are going to have to take a look at that front end a little later on.
Thanks, Glenn. The accident will take Greg Sachs from the race. And we'll show you the running order, and then we'd like to show you from the pace car on back those cars that are on the tail end of the lead lap. Here's how they're running. Here's how they came off pit road after stops. Terry Labonte, Jeff Bodine, Jeff Gordon, Ken Schrader, and Morgan Shepherd are the race leaders ahead of Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, Rick Mast, Bill Elliott, and Ricky Rudd. The 800 number's in operation. Please don't call the racetrack directly. That won't get you through to us, but please use our toll-free 800 number, 1-800-451-7331. A lot of calls on the 800 number about Ricky Rudd. Why is he in the race this week? Wasn't he fined last week? He was fined $10,000 by NASCAR and lost an appeal for an accident with Jeff Gordon late in the race. He was put on probation but was not suspended. So Ricky Rudd is eligible to compete here today. Randy?
Well, I just want to let you know about Ward Burton. He was another one of those guys that was just, matter of fact, he was on pit road when that caution came out, had to go around. So that's where he lost most of his spots. Had a pretty good pit stop, though, when they finally came back in. As far as Jeff Bodine was getting ready to pit when that caution came out, I did check the Hoosier tires on his car. They're worn, but they're not too bad. The left front is probably the worst of the lot, and it was still okay.
Thanks, Randy. We're getting set to go back to green. Now, these cars in front of Terry Labonte, Rusty Wallace, and Mark Martin are on the tail end of the lead lap. They did not pit during the caution. They stayed out and pulled right up to the pace car, but of course, we're not able to go around the pace car.
Mike, you're really going to have to get on the gas now. This is real important not to get that lap down and hope for another caution to bring them up on the lead lap. But you got some fast race cars right behind them. They're going to really have to get after it.
Derek Cope being black flag, we're told, for the restart. Jeff Bodine takes the lead back from Terry Labonte. And Jeff Gordon follows through.
You know, David, they have new surface here, but it looks like this. Oh, no, we got smoke out of Jeff Bodine's car going into turn one.
Looks like everybody's going to get by him on the high side. Bodine gets down to the track apron and off the speedway. No caution, apparently no fluid leakage.
I think he's going to the garage here. He blowed up.
Jeff Bodine out of the race.
Oh boy.
Will stay green.
Jeff Gordon's car is hooked up super well right now. These guys just in front of him, they got to go as hard as they possibly can. I don't mean to be redundant, but this race car of Jeff Gordon's has been super fast all week long. And you see right behind there, coming into the frame there, Kenny Schrader's moved up into the fight too. He's now running third.
Mark Martin underneath Rusty Wallace completes the pass. He's now the lead car of the pack. Well, you don't want to lead this race. Rick Mast led the race, got in a wreck. Jeff Bodine leads the race and blows up. Bad place to be.
You see Kenny Schrader moving into second place there. It's been a long time since he's won a race, and nobody's trying any harder than Kenny Schrader to end this year up with a victory.
Fourth in the points, just 4 back of Mark Martin. Morgan Shepherd skated way up the racetrack there. And I thought he was headed for Ellerby.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that was a little more than a little loose there. If you was in that car, you'd have been hollering about like he was.
You know where the happiest guy in the place is right now? Rick Hendrick. His cars are running 1, 2, 3.
Well, if you knew the operation there, that is one of the better race teams in the whole country with Rick Hendrick stuff. And that don't surprise me any. They're great race cars.
Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte, Ken Schrader. All those cars are owned by the Charlotte, North Carolina car dealer.
That's amazing. There's a lot of car owners own cars for years and don't ever even get up in front. Just one car.
Right.
He's got all 3 of them there.
You know, Earnhardt, I don't know how they build this race car, but that's got to be one of the toughest race cars that's ever been put on a racetrack. Dale Earnhardt's good, but that race car continues to go on after major damage week after week. I've seen that car where most people would have to park them. It keeps going.
Well, do you know who's finished the most races in a row? It's not Earnhardt, but I'll tell you when we come back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Ford and your Ford truck dealer. Ford Trucks, the best never rest.
106 laps complete here at Rockingham. Jeff Gordon's the leader because of the timing of the caution flag. Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin are on the tail end of the lead lap. Schrader, Labonte, Earnhardt, and Sterling Marlin are your top 5. The most consecutive races finished. Darrell Waltrip hasn't fallen out of a race since Talladega in July of '93. That's 40 races. The all-time record, Herman the Turtle Beam from 1961 to 63 finished 84 straight races.
He was good and consistent.
Very.
Boy, He stood a good chance of not finishing Charlotte when he got with his brother Michael Waltrip. They hit hard with 1 or 2 laps to go there, and he barely drug that car across the finishing line there to make that last race. I thought it was over.
Well, the string goes on. Jeff Gordon going to have a hard time putting a lap on these 2 cars.
Well,
He is.
that's 2 of the best right in front of him there. Jeff Gordon's a little bit quicker right now, but these guys are trying to stay in that lead lap, and they're not going to do anything but race as hard as they can, try to keep him behind.
Jeff Gordon's smart enough. I don't think he'll do anything foolish. He'll let him go.
Now, right now, with Wallace on the tail end of the lead lap, Earnhardt could clinch the championship. Mark Martin wasn't waiting around. Got underneath Rusty Wallace. Now, what will Jeff Gordon do?
Jeff Gordon's going right on by on the inside. He's got that preferred line. He puts Rusty Wallace a lap down. That was not. I know when he seen that 6 car come up under there, Rusty said, "No, man, don't do this."
Well, it just opened the door. Still, Jeff Gordon had to come through it. So.
Yeah, I'm afraid that Mark Martin not going to have much to say about it either. Jeff Gordon's car is really working in the center part of the corner where he's really doing all the damage to the other cars.
One thing we saw yesterday, and Buddy, you mentioned about Harry Gant at the top of the show. A car will run really, really well, and then they'll make a change on it and go what seems like a little change, but it goes so far the other way, and that car won't run well for a while.
Mike, Rockingham in the past has always been a racetrack that one dominant car, you run 100 miles, you lead, and it looks like nobody can touch you, and all of a sudden somebody will make that magic turn on the jack screws, and all of a sudden that's the dominant car for 100 miles. It's never over here until that last lap is running.
Another thing, like you noticed, the sun has come out all over the racetrack now, and it's definitely getting hotter.
What does that do? What kind of change does that make in the car?
Well, a lot of times it all depends on how your car is set up, but if your car is a little bit tight, a lot of times it makes it tighter as far as the front end don't stick and it pushes up the racetrack. But if you're a little bit loose, it makes it real loose.
You see Rusty Wallace trying to make that lap back up now. He is under Jeff Gordon getting into the corner. I'd say Jeff is going to not worry too much about them getting back in the lead lap right now. I think he may have just a little bit of push in the center part. From the center part to the straightaway, it looks like he loses ground right here. You see Rusty pull away about 3 or 4 car lengths coming out of the corner.
It's a little too early about now for him to worry about it.
Yeah. I would say Jeff is doing what he has to do right now. Until that second place car catches him and puts a little heat on him, you won't know exactly how fast he is.
That's true.
Riding with the race leader, Jeff Gordon.
He might be fairly new in this game, but he's smart. He knows exactly what to do.
I'd like to be 22 years old and have about 15 years experience winning races.
What do you mean
I would.
15 years? I'd like to be 21.
119 laps completed. 5 Chevrolets in the top 5, and Sterling Marlin's come all the way from 37th starting spot to run in the top 5. And those first 3 cars, as you look at the rest of the top 10, and Rick Mast did not lose a lap in that crash, incidentally. He's still running in the top 10. Those first 3 cars are all owned by Rick Hendrick. Glenn Jarrett is down there as Rick patrols between the pits of his 3 automobiles. Glenn?
Well, we've come along, Rick, to pass along our condolences. We know you're having a really tough day today. You got the first 3 cars in the running order. That's just too bad for you.
Well, the only problem is it's not 500 laps. I wish that was the last lap, but it's been a great weekend to win the Pit Crew Championship, so hope we can finish. This one's for Robert G.
Well, good luck on the rest of the day. I think, okay, a little caution, a little problem with the race right there, but no caution. Now let's go down to Randy.
Well, Jeff Bonine has obviously climbed from the Exide battery forward. Jeff, it's either feast or famine for you. We talked about blocks the other day. Is that the problem?
No, well, we really don't know. I think something broke inside, like a rod or a rod bolt, some crazy thing like that. Car was running really good, and you can see, really proud of this team. I think things are going to happen. The thing we're looking for right now is figure out how to eliminate them for next year. We're glad we're running fast. We're glad we're leading the races. We're glad we're up front. We got to learn how to keep this Exide 4 together. We'll do that. These parts failures, they happen to everybody, so this is nothing new for anyone, but we got to work on it because this car is good enough, this team's good enough to win every week, and we're proud of them. We're going to be back next week at Phoenix. Maybe we can do it there.
Jeff Bodine has failed to finish 14 times this season, but he's right. When he's finished, they've been up front.
The 14 car got into a spin just a second ago. We have it on. We didn't miss that, folks. They were interviewing the other car. You see him spinning here on front straightaway. A little contact there.
That's Randy McDonald, the driver out of Canada, in Billy Hagan's car, the NTN Bearing Chevrolet.
Boy, that's been a tough week for them. They wrecked in practice the other day also. So he's welcome to Winston Cup racing. It's a tough business here.
You see he's still running as you watch Sterling Marlin and Dale Earnhardt running in 4th and 5th place.
I think that the car you seen make contact there was the Richard Petty car driven by Andretti, and the car is still going around the racetrack. The front end teed up pretty bad.
That's the car that he hit, and it surprised me that he's still running as good as it was, but undoubtedly he just hit that center of the car. So he can get pretty hard.
Watching from our steel area platform, makers of outdoor equipment. As you watch from the helicopter, we track Sterling Marlin and Dale Earnhardt. Watch this line. There's Sterling. He's right down on the line, and so is Earnhardt. He's been there all day.
You see Bobby Labonte there. His car is not coming up out of the corner good. You see Earnhardt closed about 4 car lengths on him just out of the corner there. Earnhardt's got a lot of race car under him. He's just being very patient today.
Yep. Now let's update you on Rick Mast, who was the race leader. And he went down into turn number 1, and the car slid up the track into Greg Sachs. Sachs' car eliminated. They're still looking at it, working on it in the garage, but Mast has been able to continue. Right behind him, Steve Grissom, carrying the Die-Hard colors today on his Chevy.
You know, Rick Mast's car is back up to speed. It's amazing what these cars will take. That was a hard wreck going down into 1. You see the right side's caved in pretty bad. The right front had to take a hard lick. That car is running well. He's right behind Wallace and let's see, Jeff Burton there. So car's up to speed.
Yeah, Mast is now 12th. Jeff Burton trying to nail down that Max Rookie of the Year award, which only counts each driver's best 15 finishes in the Stavola Brothers car.
Boy, that 29 car of Grissom's looks so much like Darrell Waltrip. I'm telling you right now, I almost called him Darrell 2 or 3 times today, but it's a very attractive car, but it does look like old DW when you look at it from a distance.
Looks like it. It kind of looks like Kenny Wallace's car did last year. Jeff Burton just ahead of Mast there, running for Bill and Mickey Stavola, and their sponsor, Brake Parts Inc., having a big sales meeting, and they're watching us on the big screen down there. So we say hello to them as they wish their driver well. Jeff Burton presently 2 laps back in 30th position.
You know, looking at Rick Mast's car there, he still looks like he's pushing up just a little bit right in the center of the corner.
I just think it's amazing you can have that much damage and can continue in the race. I normally park mine when they look like that, but I usually hit a little harder.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
And here's the Bandit. Harry Gant had a good run yesterday in Ed Whitaker's car in the Busch race. And the Leo Jackson number 33 Skoal Bandit. Well, after all those years of saying Harry Gant, it's going to be a little hard to get used to Robert Presley in that car next year, but we will.
Well, at least we'll see him the first parts of the weekend every week.
That's right. At Rockingham, 133 laps are completed. We'll be right back. Ken Schrader has taken the lead from Jeff Gordon, and Terry Labonte followed him through up into 2nd place. And you can see they moved away from Gordon just a bit. Let's show you what happened while we were in break.
You can see the 24 car here of Jeff Gordon is not staying on the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Schrader, a good run down the straightaway. Team cars usually give each other a little room. You see him just kind of back out a little bit, give him racing room on the bottom. And Schrader's now in the lead.
It's the 8th race that Schrader has led this year, and he needed those 5 Winston Cup bonus points. He's that close with Mark Martin for third in the points. Jeff Gordon has now dropped back to third. Let's go to his pit. Here's Randy.
Well, guys, Jeff just came on the radio, said I have a bad set of tires. That is not a bad set of Goodyears. That is a mismatched set, or a set that's not quite as quick. He said the car pushes and it's loose. So I think he's pushing in the middle and maybe loose coming off, but he's definitely got two problems. We'll try and correct it next stop.
Thanks, Randy. Kenny Schrader leads this race, and he's coming up on a strong pack of cars. Darrell Waltrip, Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace.
You know, he's got a bad problem if he's pushing and loose, too.
Yes. Schrader started 24th and has come to the front.
Yeah, and that guy right behind him there, Terry Labonte, I made mention of the way he runs the race. He's got a lot of race car there. He's using a different groove than Schrader. He's protecting his tires. He'll be the man to watch all day long.
Here's a look at Terry's race so far. Hasn't run any less than 5th in this race. Started from the outside pole.
You know, Mike, you see these three cars running first, second, and third. I have seen them go in and open up the books and show each driver what they're running, right rear, right front. They share messages about test programs and everything. That's why these race cars run so well, is the Hendricks group works together, not against each other.
Some teams find a way to make advantages of 2 or 3 car teams. Some teams it's divisive, some teams it works to advantage.
Well, I tell you, that's sometimes can be one of the toughest things a race car driver can go through, is a team deal, because when you work in the same shop, if a car wins the race and you run second, they kind of look over at you like you're a third-class citizen or something. And it makes it for a long week. You can't wait to get back to the racetrack and try to outrun them.
Only for that week. As Schrader laps Darrell Waltrip, let's look back and find the man who's leading the Winston Cup points. There's Earnhardt in 5th place. Sterling Marlin's moved up to 4th. Earnhardt's 5th. Bill Elliott has climbed to 6th. Kyle Petty is shown in 7th. Ricky Rudd in 8th. Morgan Shepherd in 9th, and Michael Waltrip 10th. Right now, Earnhardt is in a position to clinch the championship today.
You know, David, yesterday we had wreck after wreck after wreck. Today, the Winston Cup drivers, they have a little more time on the racetrack. They have a little better racing surface because it does have a groove now, upper and lower. Look at the pass, the lead here.
Terry Labonte and Sterling Marlin has gone by both Jeff Gordon and Kenny Schrader.
I think that what they're doing there is they're all team cars, and they're letting all 3 of them lead so many laps.
I don't know. Somebody better go up in front of those guys that we're talking about there and tell Terry Labonte that. He's got a pretty good lead right now.
Riding with Jeff Gordon.
You know, you were talking about the racetrack, that getting more experiences, more time on the racetrack practicing. These guys here know that this is a 500-mile race, and they're taking their time. They're not really trying to work the groove in up high right quick like some of the other guys are trying to do. If you run it behind traffic, they say, well, we got plenty of time. We'll just wait.
I think that's more of a difference, too. You got 492 laps to sort this thing out.
You see Terry Labonte there trying to put DW another lap down there. I tell you what, Darrell's picked up the speed. He's got a lot of race car. He's a smart guy. He does not, you notice he's running a high groove there and running quite well.
Coming up on 150 laps here at Rockingham. Here's how they're running. We'll be right back. Today live on TNN after today's race, the Professional Bull Riders Championship, live from Las Vegas.
Oh, I watched a little of that yesterday. I thought race car drivers were on the loose end. Woo. I'm going to tell you, it scared me sitting on the bed watching that.
Pretty exciting stuff, though, huh?
It was.
Terry Labonte leads this race over Sterling Marlin, Ken Schrader, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt. 5 Chevys at the front of the field here. There's one of them, Terry Labonte, right behind the Cale Yarborough car with Jeremy Mayfield.
Yeah, you don't see the 3 abreast racing here today like you did yesterday. I guess the racetrack was a lot tighter yesterday, and guys thought they could do things that you're not supposed to do at Rockingham. I asked the guy, I said, what about this racetrack? What's it like? He said, it's just like the old racetrack was. If you try to do too much, you get in trouble.
Jeremy Mayfield. You're in the 98 car, rather you're on the roof of the 98 car. Tracking Terry Labonte into the corner as they move up on Ted Musgrave. Jeremy's 2 laps down. Getting to be a partly cloudy day here at the Rock. It was really overcast and a bit slimy this morning. Ooh, Nemechek almost in the wall up there.
As I spoke about 3 wide, you saw Joe Nemechek go in 3 wide and got bumped just a little bit, and he got up in the gray area, the top part of the racetrack here. And I'm telling you, it was a wreck. It just didn't happen.
He and Derek Cope got together. Let's show you that again. Well, we saw a lot of this yesterday. 3 into turn 1 doesn't go.
No, everybody wants to get down that preferred line. They touch just a little bit. Now watch Nemechek go up right now. He's up there where he don't want to be. He's out of the throttle trying to get that thing to stay straight. That's all you worry about there, not whether you lose positions or time or anything else. You just want to stay straight.
Yeah, he's holding his breath right then. Going through there.
Yeah, that happened right in front of the leaders. Judy from Illinois called in on our 800 number. What is this man's real name? Driver Bud Moore's 15 car. It is Lake Chambers Speed.
World karting champion.
He's running good today. I wonder what Bud Moore said to him yesterday during the pit crew race.
David, I believe you're just a little bit. Oh, look at Kyle Petty up into the wall.
Nobody touched him.
Looked like he might have had a flat tire or something broke on that car because he just went straight up. Yellow flag is out.
Kyle's called in on the radio and said the right front tire went down. Lap 160, Kyle Petty into the wall. Tight moment there for Lake Speed, who was in 10th place, right behind him. I'll show you what happened here.
Well, he's just in line there, and he's just, you see what happens when that right front goes. He's got the wheel cut, but it's going straight up. The black mark there is where the blown out tire was locked up.
That was a hard lick, too.
Kyle's wearing one of his dad's helmets. Richard had some helmets made with carbon monoxide filters in them, and fresh air system, clean air system, and Kyle's got one of those on today.
Well, you can see Kyle moving around in there. That was a hard lick, as David mentioned there, but you see Kyle moving around in the car. He's waiting on the safety crew to get there. They'll help him get out in a whole bit, but there is a lot of bank here.
Now the leaders come onto pit road as the caution wave. Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace came all the way around, so they are on the lead lap. So the caution was really a break for Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace. Let's go to Randy Pemberton on pit road.
Well, it's 1 round of wedge for Kenny Schrader and this team here, led by Ken Howes. They're going to go ahead and go with 4 tires, as everybody will. Car was evidently just getting a little bit loose. This team, of course, won the Pit Crew Championship a couple of years ago. He's down and away. Glenn Jarrett?
Well, down in Terry Labonte's pits, they've already got the right sides done, Randy. There's a little bit of trouble on the left side here getting the car up. Now they've got it done. They did the right side very, very fast. He's not going to make it out back to lead. In fact, the 2 teammate cars have already gone by him. He comes out in 3rd place. Interestingly enough, this is one of the only tracks that a Hendrick car has not won in. So they got the first 3 cars today. They may change that.
22-second stop for Labonte. And we'll be back to North Carolina Motor Speedway after this. Pit stops are pretty much done under caution, but they continue to work to remove Kyle Petty's car from the wall up at turn number 4. There you see it being hooked up to the wrecker, and now finally they'll get it down off the banking. 164 laps complete. Let's go to pit road. Here's Glenn.
Well, Mike, I'm down in Dale Earnhardt's pits, and I talked with Richard Childress, crew chief. Dale had radioed in during that run that the car had gotten pretty tight, but yet he remained a top 5 car. He ran in 4th and 5th position throughout most of that run. Richard said that they did adjust the car. They're doing it with air pressure. They're not going to do too much at one time. They're afraid of going too far. He said the car's not that bad right now. They just don't want to make any radical changes. They just want to keep making real small, minor adjustments on it to get it more to his liking. I tell you what, if the car's that tight and running in the top 5, if he ever does get it right, he may run off and leave him.
That's possible. Question from Paul in Vermont. Environmentally speaking, what happens to tires and scrap metal? Well, the tires get sold to race fans for $5 to $20, and the scrap metal usually ends up on the walls of restaurants. We'll be right back. Highway transportation provided by Cedar Ridge RV Center, Branchville, New Jersey, featuring Winnebago. Call 1-800-988-4884 to find out why Cedar Ridge is the choice of champions. Had a couple calls on our 800 line to take you a little further back in the field. How's this? Here's where everybody's running. Some of those cars up through Jeff Bodine are in the garage area, but there are 38 cars running at present. Here's Glenn Jarrett.
Well, Mike, I'm standing down in the pit road just as you enter turn 1, and last time by, Dale Earnhardt, who is in second position, the leader, Ken Schrader, pulled up beside Schrader's car going down the front stretch and on into turn 1. I asked the crew what that was all about, knowing that Earnhardt and Schrader are great buddies. They said, well, we want to see just how big a buddy he is to see if he's as good a buddy as Jeff Bodine was to Rusty Wallace a couple weeks ago when he slowed down, let him lead a lap. So they're hoping that Schrader will let Earnhardt do the same on the restart.
Well, of course, Rusty led that lap and then blew up. The other question I have is, well, will be asked and answered, I guess, next week. At Phoenix, 4 laps into the race, Earnhardt got into Schrader, sent him up into the wall and out of the race. And Kenny was looking for a top 5 in points that year, too. And it didn't happen after that happened at Phoenix.
Well, I'd say Rusty Wallace and them were pretty pleased to be back in the lead lap. And they had the fastest car up to the caution just now. So watch him come up. He's up to 13th now, and that car is flying.
He and Mark Martin are both back on the lead lap. 21 cars on the lead lap back through Dick Trickle. We're back under green at lap 168.
Mike, David, this is when you hold your breath. When you go back double file and you're, have a race pattern down, all of a sudden you have to run places you hadn't run before when you're on that outside.
Now, Schrader must not have been too good a buddy to Earnhardt because he run off and left him about 5 car lengths there.
I just fixing to say he runs for Hendricks, not Childress.
Right. Dale Jarrett got up near the wall at turn 3, but straightened it out. Lost a bunch of positions in the process, though.
See Mark Martin there trying to make a move on Rusty Wallace. Rusty's on the outside of the racetrack. He'll get down low going in this next corner. I don't think he'll stay on the high side much longer.
Now they're way deep in the pack, as you can see. And a long way to go to get up with the leaders.
Something wrong with Dale Jarrett, I believe, because he has fallen all the way back to last place now.
Talking to his crew and told Jimmy Maycar he may have a flat left rear to wobbling that car, and he is going to pit.
Yeah, he's going in the back straightaway pits right now. You know, they were so good at Charlotte, and they've had nothing but trouble here. When things go right, they go right. And when they go bad, you have this kind of day. Flat tires on restarts and things like that.
Well, I guess if you're going to have good luck, wouldn't you just soon have it all in one day and win the race?
Yeah, they changed the right sides there, so it must have been a right rear tire that they changed.
Yeah, as high as he was going in the corner, it looked like it should have been the right side. Or this little turn.
Well, here comes Earnhardt. He's going to try to get those 5 points, whether Schrader wants him to have them or not.
I feel like it looked like Schrader motioned by right then.
Earnhardt takes the bottom.
Yeah, it looked like I've seen something moving.
Here comes Jeff with him. He may not lead that lap yet.
And Earnhardt picks up 5 bonus points. The Winston Cup point system, which has come under a lot of fire these last few weeks. Here comes Schrader right back.
Well, we know who the line tamer is right at the moment. I can tell you that. Schrader just made that look awful easy.
No, it will show you that he did let him go by.
Yeah.
Well, he got his hands full with Jeff Gordon there on the outside. You see Earnhardt right down on the bottom part of the racetrack. They're 3 wide just behind, though.
So Earnhardt led a lap. The point system, 175 to win, and it drops back 5 points per position through 6th, and then back 4, and then back 3 per position. Any driver who leads a lap gets 5 points, and the one driver who leads the most laps gets 5 more points.
Yeah, you see Terry Labonte's moved right back up there in 4th place now. I tell you, that car is hooked up too. I'm not sure that he may have the measure of Schrader.
Now Earnhardt has led this race today. Wallace has not.
4 or 5 here and 5 there. It's just hard to close on a man that runs as well as Earnhardt does every week.
It really is. You know, but I don't know why I got this feeling that the day is going to be Schrader's day.
Be about time, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it is.
A little back behind that front pack. Morgan Shepherd on the inside with Michael Waltrip, and Bill Elliott leading that pack in 5th place now.
see Derek Cope there in the 12 car trying to get down underneath to make it 3 wide down the front straightaway. That didn't quite happen, but he was trying. He thought about it.
Riding with Derek Cope as he pulls up on the Pennzoil Pontiac of Michael Waltrip.
You know, Derek Cope is the type of driver you never have to question how fast his car will go, because whatever you see him doing, that's everything it'll do. And he don't have a lot of patience when he gets in crowds either. He'll make it 3 wide or 4 wide getting in the corner.
Now, you talk about how cars will run well and then not run so well if you make a little change. Sterling Marlin was the 4th place car before pit stops. Now he's back in 18th. Here's one of the reasons why.
Well, that was a good save.
Yeah, that's when you wake up Leroy, because he ain't never seen a wreck like that. Oh, that didn't look good.
What seat is Leroy in?
That's when you go, Lord, if you help me through this, I won't do it ever again, I promise.
Sterling just proved that he could drive, didn't he?
Yeah, that's why I quit. I wasn't making no saves like that.
You see Michael Waltrip's car getting a little wag the tail just in front there of Derek Cope.
Jeff Gordon trying to move in 2nd place. And you see Earnhardt, that's not a normal move for him. He gave a lot there. He realizes what today means to him. 6 national titles. Can you imagine in the shorter period of time as he's done?
Denny called in from New York. He said, well, we know Richard Petty's won 7 and Earnhardt's won 6. What about after that? 3 drivers each have 3 championships. Cale Yarborough, Lee Petty, David Pearson.
Well, David ought to have some championships as long as he drove. You know, he started out in the 32 Ford, and yeah, I mean, I can remember when I was in school, I used to say, come on, David, with 4 or 5 laps to go. I was down in military school in Camden, South Carolina, and David was my hero way back then.
Yeah, but tell him how old he was when he was in there.
I give up. Are you saying I drove to the 6th grade?
All right, here's Jeff Gordon with Dale Earnhardt and Labonte. Dale Earnhardt with a 321-point lead. Randy asked him yesterday, does he have a strategy for Rockingham?
You race each race as you see it. In other words, the championship's a race in itself, and you race it one way, and you race the Busch Clash one way, and the Winston another, and every race you look into it is a different angle or competition. We were having a competitive battle with Ernie, and that went away. We had the big lead, and just soon keep it.
Just as soon keep it, I guess.
One thing, folks, everybody gives Dale Earnhardt a time about, you know, being under so much scrutiny. A lot of people think he does not take the time with people. That's one of the nicest guys in racing. And I know you're going to write in and send me stuff on the 800 number and everything else, but I'm telling you, if you lived the life of Dale Earnhardt for a week, you'd appreciate him being as nice as he is, because he is always being asked to do something.
I was just talking to him the other day. He said it's not like it used to be. He said now every day, every night, they got some place for you to go to. So that's what you have to pay to be a champion.
Well, right now he's going backwards. You see Terry Labonte going by, and Brett Bodine's running very well now. They got their oil leak fixed in the back of his car, but he's 4 laps down.
Earnhardt running a pace, doing much like David Green did yesterday, although Earnhardt's closer to the front of the pack than David Green was when he notched that championship yesterday afternoon here live on TNN. We're at 187 laps completed. We'll be right back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Stant, the world leader in automotive caps and thermostats.
Good battle ongoing in this pack. Bill Elliott and Morgan Shepherd ran a bunch of laps side by side. You can see that Elliott is in 5th place, leading this string of cars that includes Morgan Shepherd, Ricky Rudd, and on back.
Mike, right behind these guys is Rusty Wallace. I know that they've been racing harder, and he wants to see them running, him trying to make up distance. But he can't make a pass right now. These race cars are running equally as fast as the lead cars. They're just different track position right now. They are really going at it.
There's 5th and 6th. Elliott and Shepard. Right behind them, Ricky Rudd, the pole sitter. We've got a lot of 800 calls about Ricky Rudd and his probation status. NASCAR put him on probation after the wreck with Jeff Gordon last week. What that means is that Rudd can race and compete like everyone else.
We have Jeff Gordon going in the lead here by Schrader. They've been back and forth, back and forth. Now you have Terry Labonte coming by also.
A little bit more give and take here.
Yeah.
A little bit more give and take. So Rudd, I was saying, can continue to race, but being on probation means the NASCAR officials will keep a close eye on him, and if there's any further incident, either send him to the penalty box or send him home. Is kind of the way things are enforced. That's what probation means. You can still run, race, qualify, and do everything else. Also, his wallet is lighter by $10,000.
That might be the reason he's running back in the back. He's kind of scared to race.
I don't think so. Not Ricky Rudd.
Well, the money he's got, I wouldn't doubt it either.
Tony, please.
Only won $2,500 for winning the pole here. That'll help. I wonder if he just told NASCAR to credit it to his account. Here's your 5th place battle once again. Morgan Shepard had Bill Elliott. Here's Elliott right back after him.
Contact there. Shepard and Bill Elliott.
Well, Morgan Shepard won't give him anything, I promise you that. Look at, here comes Harry Gant, last run here at Rockingham. He's going to try to pass them both, getting in the corner there. Bill sees him down low. Harry went in so hard he went right to the top of the racetrack.
Now Harry is not on the lead lap. He's in 25th spot, 2 laps down.
You know, Mike, that proves one thing. You don't have to be racing for the lead to have a good race all day. These guys are back there. They're fighting just as hard as the guys up front.
Probably more so, if you want to know the truth. Because anytime you're up front, it's a whole lot easier to lead a race and drive. You're more comfortable and everything leading it is in back to back.
Bobby Labonte right in amongst them in the Maxwell House car. And he is 2 laps down. He's racing Harry Gant. That is for position. Bobby Labonte and Harry Gant.
You know, Mike, while we got time here, I'd like to say hello to Banjo Matthews. You know, he's been a little bit ill, and I'd like to see him speedy recover and get back to this racetrack and get around and see some people.
Banjo built a lot of winning cars in NASCAR's history.
Did. And you know, that guy could walk around a race car and tell you more what's wrong with it than the guy that built it.
Is that right? Go back up to the battle for 5th. Oh, Elliott climbs the hill at 24-degree banking. Here comes Morgan Shepard.
Well, you see the outside line getting in the corner there seems to be just as fast, but you see Morgan close up the center part of the corner. The only thing about being on the outside, you get a better straightaway run when you come off wider like that. Car underneath, of course, has to watch not to get into the outside car getting off the corner.
Now let's see if Elliott can use a car as a pick. A spin at turn 2. Jimmy Spencer in the McDonald's car, and he's got some heavy rear end damage. This will bring out the caution at lap 202. Spencer moves over to the Smokin' Joe's ride next year. Looks like that left rear's gone flat, either causing or as a result of the contact with the wall. Brett Bodine tried to get a lap back, didn't make it past Terry Labonte.
I tell you, I've been trying to figure out which one of these cars really has the muscle. Terry Labonte seems to be better on the long end of the runs. You know, at the very first, Schrader's a little faster, and then Gordon in the middle part of the run, and then Terry Labonte comes on. Right now, if I had to have either one of those 3 cars, I'd rather have Terry Labonte's, because if it goes green for a long period of time, he seems to have the better car.
It seems like he's a lot smoother through the corners than the rest of them, than the other 2 cars.
Jimmy Spencer has gone to the garage. Down pit road, there's your leaders, Labonte, and then there's the point chasers, Earnhardt and Wallace.
And I love this shot. This is where it's all at, folks. The race is on the racetrack, but right here is where it's all won with pit crews.
4 tire changes all the way around. Only the lead lap cars can pit the first lap during a caution that pit road is open. Jeff Gordon gets done first.
Wow. You've seen Rusty come in about 3 seconds or 4 seconds behind the other two cars, and the right side was changed so fast that he caught up almost for the guys there that come in way ahead of him.
So we'll sort out the running lineup when we come back to the North Carolina Motor Speedway after this. Next Sunday, TNN has the Slick 5500 live from Buddy Jobe's Phoenix International Raceway. Can't wait to get out there and get a little warmth and sunshine and some real good West Coast racing.
It's not heaven, but you can see it from there. It's a beautiful place, I tell you.
Let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
Well, smiling faces all around in Dale Earnhardt's pit crew here as Andy competes. God, that was a great stop, 16.32 seconds, guys.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I'm pretty proud of these guys. You know, it seems like you can never do it on the day of the pit crew race. We always do it on Sunday.
Plays a little more out here, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, if I had to trade it, it'd be out on Sunday.
Car's been acting up a little bit. It was a little tight. You adjusted it last time. Then you reported it was a little loose. What'd you do that time, Andy?
Well, we're just trying another set of tires. You know, we've been loose, we've been tight, we've been adjusting a little bit here and there. We don't want to dollar ourselves out because we're still pretty competitive.
Very competitive. Randy?
Well, you talked about smiling faces there. No real smiling faces in the 28 pit, the Texaco Haviland Ford team, with, of course, Kenny Wallace now behind the wheel. They're a couple of laps down. They've struggled all weekend long, and unfortunately for these guys, it all comes really on Friday and Saturday. Kenny Wallace just doesn't quite have the experience that Ernie did in setting up the car. No disrespect, doesn't have the experience, but the team is really ready for this year to be over with. They've had a tough season losing Ernie Irvin in the seat of that car.
Yeah, it's good to see Ernie here at Rockingham this weekend, walking around talking to people and adding his input to Robert Yates and Larry McReynolds to try to get that car up front.
You said something right there. Walking around. He is walking around. He's got that little step now. You know, that little.
He's got that little shuffle. Yeah, he's walking like Ernie Irvin.
Yeah.
He's coming along pretty good, folks. We're back under green. Jeff Gordon hauls him off down to the corner. And Earnhardt, with a good pit stop and good pit position down at the end of pit road, is up to second place. As you watch from our steel aerial platform. Off turn 4, back to the start-finish line. Kenny Schrader settles in third. And Terry Labonte runs in fourth ahead of Morgan Shepherd. Ricky Rudd, Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace gained two positions on pit road, came in 10th and came out 8th.
That's a nice luxury to have when you can pass them and you don't have to do anything from the driver's seat. That's a nice feeling.
That's one thing when I was driving for the Wood Brothers. No matter how far behind, I knew when I come in that pits, I was going to beat about half of them out of that pits because they was real sharp on pit stops.
They were the best. They were among the teams that perfected the art of quick pit stops. Kenny Schrader's just gone past Earnhardt.
See Harry Gant there. He's running right with the leaders now. He's a lap down, but he's trying to get back in the lead lap. He and Brett Bodine are probably as fast as anybody out there right now, but he just cannot get by those lead cars.
I don't think the group got quite high enough yet for Harry Gant. He always likes running right up against the wall here.
Here's where your point chasers are. Remember that Earnhardt has also picked up 5 points for leading a lap. Rusty has not, and that's included in that total at the bottom of that graphic. After this race, Childress and Earnhardt leave for New Mexico. They're going to go up on a mountaintop, do a little hunting, kind of sit and watch the sunset. Have a little fun.
You see Harry Gant's moved over to the inside there. He knows that he can't get by the leaders now. I think he just give way a lot and let these front guys go at it. You know, you watch the groove now. There's a second groove on this racetrack, and you can run the high groove around here and keep up with the car right on the bottom now. That's a very important thing to make racing a lot better here. Here comes Earnhardt up under Schrader now, trying to work back into the second spot. Made it look easy. Brett Bodine, he's many laps down, but one of the fastest cars on the racetrack.
Watching this battle, you can't believe this kid's lead. Look at this. We've only been green flag racing for less than 10 laps.
That might come back to haunt him in a little while, though. That's one thing that a guy that leads a lot learns to go just far enough not to abuse his tires and all. A lot of times you get out in front like that and you try to run the car at its maximum and actually hurt it for later on in the run.
He is 3 seconds ahead of the field.
You know, buddy, a lot of times, too, you know yourself that if your car is the way it's set up, if it handles real good running fast, he's going to run fast. And if he backs off a little bit, it won't handle quite as good.
You know, Mike, the big thing right now is the sun's not out. Jeff Gordon was the fastest guy in practice yesterday with clouds on the racetrack.
That's a good point. The sun has kind of peeked in and out of the clouds today. Rusty Wallace moves under Ricky Rudd. That is for 7th place. Michael Waltrip is right there as well, now up into 8th, and here comes Todd Bodine. And Butch Mock's Factory Stores Ford. He picks up a spot.
We have a NASCAR radio report that Rusty Wallace is now smoking a little bit. That's not good. Now, whether it's tire smoke or car-related problems, I don't know, but there is smoke.
You know, buddy, I noticed a while ago coming off 4th turn, it might be that he's running so hard that the left front fender is hitting the tire, left front tire. And I don't know whether that's the smoke they're talking about or not, but I did see it coming off of 4 one time earlier in the race.
Well, I hope that's the problem because we don't want to see him go out again. Such a heartbreaker at Charlotte to have problems running as well as he was there.
Let's check with Randy in his pit.
Well, on the last pit stop, they did remove some tape from the front grill area. Now, that can be constituted as a chassis change sometimes, too, because it will affect the handling characteristics of the car. But the water temp was fluctuating up to about 230 at times. But looking at these guys in the pits, they're not really doing a whole lot, so they're not too worried. But they're going to have to run it until it gives up anyway. So,
Randy, did they put any water in it on the last stop?
No, they did not. No.
You can see Michael Waltrip. Rusty had gotten by Michael Waltrip with no problems a while ago, and Michael's going back by him.
Schrader. Kenny Schrader, turn 2. Got way up the racetrack, and you saw how it stacked up that pack.
We have a wreck on the back straightaway coming out of turn 2.
2 cars have spun there.
That's Hut Strickland turned around there.
And Dave Marcus,
rather.
The Terramite Chevy. And Dave was having a strong race. He was running 18th on the lead lap. All that happened because Kenny Schrader may have cut a tire. He really climbed the banking in turn 2, got real slow, and the whole pack stacked up behind him. What happened, the onboard fire extinguishing system went off.
Oh, man.
And something came out of Kenny Schrader's car. Drive shaft.
That's what it looks like. That looked like, yeah, you can see the oil coming out of the back of the car there. He's headed up. He probably dropped the... There it is. I guess it is the drive shaft.
Now,
well, what you see here is just a chain reaction. He got on the brakes there. Sterling Marlin did. He's spinning around. Now, you see the cars in the background there. That was Dave Marcus getting up into the side of another car there.
Mike Wallace.
That saved him from hitting the wall.
Yes. Let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
Well, Dale Earnhardt has come back in a little bit unexpected by me. I did not think he would come in as none of the rest of the leaders did, but they're coming in for a 4-tire change. I don't think Dale liked the way that set of tires worked, or he may have gotten way up high in the loose stuff trying to get around all that because Schrader was right in front of him. He's down and away after 4-tire change.
I would say if I was in Dale Earnhardt's spot right now, I would make sure I had the best of everything on that race car with the points lead that he has.
No question. Pit stops continue under this, the 6th caution flag of the day. This race has not been kind to its leaders. Kenny Schrader, who led a bunch today, ends up in trouble in turns 1 and 2. Something broke and the drive shaft came out of the car, and the fire extinguishing system went off, and now that car is behind the wall in the garage being worked on. Here's what happened. Watch Sterling Marlin on the right side of your screen as the pack bunches up.
What they're doing, they're checking up on the brakes. He runs in the back of the 12 car, Derek Cope. Grissom hits him in the back end, turns him around, and everybody's coming off the corner here. It's like if you were on the freeway and all of a sudden everybody around you starts spinning. You just get collected in it, whether you have any part of the wreck or not.
Dave Marcus spun, got a little bit of Mike Wallace there in the Heilig Myers Ford, Junie Donlevy. Here's from Derek Coates' car, or rather Jeremy Mayfield's car.
This is the one that makes me happy. I'm up here. Listen to that sound.
And that's real time, folks. That's all the time you have to react when things like that start happening.
Yep, that's break, 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 out.
Here's how everybody's running, so you can find your favorite driver in that running order. 35 cars are still out there making laps. Let's go to Randy Pemberton.
Well, Kenny Schrader sitting in the car. We'll try and get a word with him. Kenny, not too cool a deal. How are you?
I was okay. I knew something big broke. I didn't know what it was, but we took a little trip there for a while. The fire bottle went off. I don't know what's in that stuff, but let me tell you what, it's like the 12-back Budweiser instantly.
Okay, tough break for Kenny Schrader. He's behind the wall and, of course, will not win today. Boy, his eyes, he was rubbing them. He was definitely hurting for a while.
Well, the material in that system is designed to rob the fire of oxygen that it needs to burn, and so not too good on drivers either. We're back under green.
It addled him enough that he didn't know the drive shaft had blown out of it and knocked the fire bottle. They have fittings on the end of it, and they probably knocked the fitting loose when the drive shaft tried to come up through the floorboard.
Fortunately, there's a big steel safety hoop inside that drive shaft tunnel, so that spinning around in there, once it breaks loose, can't do any damage.
Yeah, but this sounds like it's taking the car and sawing it in half.
It does.
And it probably did. We're back under green. Jeff Gordon is out in front. Again, Harry Gant tried to get a lap back from the leader. You're riding with Mark Martin.
Mark's run a very, very smart race today. He's right up in the front right now. The car's been competitive all day. He got almost a lap down, but he made it back up, and he's running quite well at the moment.
228 laps completed. This track measures just over 1 mile, 1.017 miles, so they run 492 laps here. Next year, this race will be shortened to 400 miles. The spring race will remain 500, but this race will go to a 400-mile distance.
I'd have won 32 of these things if it had been 400 miles long.
I don't remember that.
Well,
I don't remember that.
You don't remember him leading that
No,
much?
he don't remember anything. Well, he's lucky to be here.
Now you know why I like to sit by the door.
You see Morgan Shepherd there running right along with Terry Labonte. Terry Labonte's car is really great after about 10 laps, but right at the moment, Jeff Gordon is really turned up the wick, and right behind him is Harry Gant. He's trying to make that lap up.
Mark Martin racing with Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott. Good pack there. Darrell Waltrip a lap down, and there's Todd Bodine at 75, the Butch Mott car. What a run he's had. He's up to fourth place, excuse me.
Boy, he's been in situations this year that he could have won maybe 3 or 4 races and got in wrecks that he had nothing at all to do with. This young man right here is going to write some records as he goes along in his career.
Derek Cope, something has happened on the Bobby Allison straight arrow Ford.
Well, they've had that this year also.
Yes.
Really have.
Chuck Bound started the season for them, crashed hard at Pocono in June. Chuck is still coming around to the racetracks, and he's waiting for a bit of double vision to be cured up before he can get back in a race car. At the front of the pack, Jeff Gordon. Now his lead is not as strong as it was the last time he stepped down on a restart, but it's still pretty healthy.
But he is pulling away, though, this a little bit at a time, 1 inch at a time.
233 laps are complete. Jeff Gordon leads. Terry Labonte, Morgan Shepherd, and Todd Bodine. We'll be right back. Jeff Gordon leads. Terry Labonte, Morgan Shepherd, Todd Bodine, and Mark Martin. Around this racetrack, just behind them, look at this battle.
Now there's where 4 tires. Earnhardt come back in. This Raider had his problems. He put on 4 new tires. You see him go by Rusty Wallace with little or no problem whatsoever. He's moving in on the 11 car now, Bill Elliott.
And give a call to Dick Trickle in that skybox number 32. Trickle had one of the fastest cars in practice here. Spun in qualifying, was the fastest second-round qualifier, and now Dick Trickle's up to 9th place. A great run.
Looks like Rusty may have just a little bit of a loose problem because he's running a ladder arc in the corner now. He's not staying on the bottom of the racetrack like he was earlier.
Ricky Rudd just behind Wallace, then Michael Waltrip. Jeff and Ward Burton. Ward is on the lead lap. Jeff is 2 down. And with Earnhardt and Wallace close together, Earnhardt would only gain 13 points. He needs to gain 50 on Wallace today to clinch the championship.
Boy, oh boy. Nothing comes easy in this business. It's like I've heard Rusty say, same thing happened to him in Charlotte can happen to Earnhardt. So it's not over yet. Anything can happen in the race. It's this long.
Have you had a chance to run a driving school here on the new surface?
My dad has run several of them. You know, I'm going to go ahead and give him a plug now where I can get it out. The Buck Baker Driving School, yeah, they do it every other week here, Mike. And we're currently building a couple of super trucks to include that into our program. So I think everybody's going to love this new series.
But here's our Napa Field standing update. Napa, we keep America running. As Ricky Rudd battles Rusty Wallace and Michael Waltrip. But you've not had a chance to run on the new surface?
No, I rode around here with Frank Wilson just after they did it, and he was so proud of this surface. And I tell you what, it is wonderful. You can see what great racing you can have when you see 2 cars go through the corner here, virtually the same speed. You couldn't do that just a few years back.
David, would you say that top groove has come in?
It's coming on, and it really is. You can see Rusty right there running with him that close together. It's all got a second groove right now, and I think with 100 laps you'll see where you can go on up and even make it three wide.
Wallace, you see through the windshield, takes a turn of the wheel, battles Ricky Rudd. This is for 9th place. There's Ward Burton in the Hardy Chevy, right in that pack. Jeff Burton and Joe Nemechek there, and Bobby Labonte locked
3 wide down the front straightaway here.
Sooner or later, it had to happen.
I think Ricky said, no, I don't think so. We'll make this 2 wide. Wow. Can you say probation? That's it right there.
You seen Rusty back off. He was smart enough to back off.
I think that was smart. The probation or no, that was smart. Halfway, this time by.
I want to say something. One of the nicest people in racing is Ricky Rudd. Now, the thing that makes good race car drivers good is they have that ability to turn on a lot of emotions and really go after something. And what happened in Charlotte will probably never will ever happen in Ricky Rudd's racing career again. But just for that moment, he may have got a little mad and done something that everybody don't approve. But I guarantee you, if you watch everybody in races, you'll do it sooner or later in your racing career.
I'm the only one I reckon never did do that.
Yeah, right. Never.
Baker done it every week.
Tell Richard Petty that coming off turn 4 for the Daytona 500.
Yeah,
he knocked him all the way up in the 3rd row.
He run me in the wall.
That's your story.
Are you guys going to fight like this all next week at Phoenix? I hope not.
We might not make it through the day.
It's a good thing you don't have steering wheels up here. Dale Earnhardt racing Bill Elliott. They've both been to the championship table at the Waldorf before. This is for 6th place.
Earnhardt saying, man, I made a good choice on 4 tires there. That race car is really hooked up, and the sun's popping back out, as you can well see. That's going to really be an advantage to having fresher rubber on the race car. But you see Bill Elliott does not roll over and play dead even for the champion.
These cars are 6 seconds behind the race leader.
That outside groove is getting awful fast. You see Bill Elliott get a nice run off the corner there. Earnhardt's right under and he gains a little bit here. Now you watch the 11 car. I guess he decided, I don't need to do that. It's a little early yet. But Bill Elliott's car is running super well.
Another thing too, but I believe that Earnhardt feels a little safer on the inside and have a car on the outside of it instead of on the inside of it, because there's so many things that can happen, and just knocked Earnhardt out. So he's going to stay on the inside if he can.
What they used to say, 8 wheels corner better than 4.
That's right.
So when you're on the inside,
at least you have a cushion on the outside if anything happens.
It's a 160-mile-an-hour cushion. We are 250 laps in, just past halfway, and we'll be right back with Winston Cup Racing Live on TNN.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Ray Bestas. When it comes to safety, don't compromise. Say Ray Bestas, the best in brakes.
Jeff Gordon leads this race, and you see Harry Gant out in front of him. Gant got one of his 2 laps back just a moment ago. Harry Gant had pitted at lap 83.
What's this piece of driving? He goes down left side all the way on.
He hit it.
What's this recovery right here? Now you tell me this man don't have car control. Way to go, Harry.
He went all the way down on the apron. I don't believe Gordon ever saw him, and because he actually come down on him.
I don't believe he saved the car.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
you never run with Harry Gant. He's not in trouble until the wind blows his hat sideways.
But you know what a bounce that is down to the apron and then try to get back up on the racetrack and save it?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed.
That apron and just pushed right up. He's lucky he didn't take Gordon out.
You're right. Well, Jeff Gordon leads this race. Let's go to his pit. Glenn?
Well, Mike, it's been quite a weekend for Ray Evernham. Friday night, he was named Crew Chief of the Year. They're in discussion right now about the tire situation. Ray, what have you guys found? This car is like a rocket ship out there.
Really, it's just playing a little bit with wedge adjustments and air pressure, and quite honestly, the sun going in and out. Sun's out now, we're slowing down, so we're praying for some clouds. I guess we're going to have to get with the people that control the tomahawk and play for some clouds.
Well, I hope he's got that kind of pull. Actually, I'm kind of pulling for him because I got this guy in the pool today, guys.
Well, when he says the tomahawk, that's the thing they have on the pits there, and they don't put it out until he's leading the race, and they throw that big tomahawk out there. They call them Rainbow Warriors.
Todd Bodine and Morgan Shepherd here. This is the 3rd place battle. Todd's had quite a run today.
Yeah, I hope he has some good luck because Butch Mock and those guys worked so hard, and this guy drove his heart out. In 2nd place at Daytona this year, got wiped out in a fray on the back straightaway. He's been in the lead several times. He was running super well in the Winston Select up there in Charlotte and got knocked out. He just had a series of bad luck.
Morgan Shepherd right behind him, back up front. Terry Labonte closes in on Jeff Gordon.
Well, you heard him say they were praying for overcast, and Terry Labonte wants it to stay sunny because he has a great race car when it's hot out there.
The sun is out right now in turns 2 and 4, and the rest of the track is cloudy.
Well, he passed him in the sunny part of the racetrack. You can see Terry Labonte go right on by.
Now, interesting, the 3 Hendrick cars have all 3 frequencies on their radio in the car. They can tune and dial in each other's frequencies, and I guess they've got one frequency where they can all talk back and forth.
David did that to me in Daytona one time. He was running 2nd, and the guy was giving him a hard time that was running in 3rd, and he picked up his microphone. I didn't know he could hear me, and he told me to speed it up a little bit.
Did you?
Well, I was running wide open. I couldn't pick it up.
Yeah, we just got some new radios, and somehow or another we got on the same frequency that Buddy had. And the start of that race, I heard Buddy tell all those things about the gauges and all that. I never just say nothing, and I think it surprised him when
I bet it did.
when he found out I was on the same frequency.
David from Michigan asked who the first team was to use radios in their cars.
You know, Jeff Gordon's car, they're talking about smoke. I see smoke there big time.
You know, that shows again. I wouldn't want to lead this race because every leader that's got in front has went out.
By the way, Kenny Schrader's back in the race as Jeff Gordon slows.
I noticed that car was smoking for about 3 or 4 laps there, and all of a sudden it really looked like it come apart a little bit.
I thought I saw it a little bit, but it going into number 1 there.
Rick Mast was leading and crashed. Jeff Bodine was leading and lost the engine. Kenny Schrader led a lot and lost a drive shaft. And now Jeff Gordon's car goes up in smoke. Let's go to his pit.
Jeff Gordon brings the 24 Chevrolet in. They're going under the hood as we suspected. There's engine problems. The engine is still running, but it doesn't sound like it's running on all 8 cylinders. They think that they're looking for an oil leak. NASCAR had come to him right before we talked to Ray Evernham, said something to him. there were reports that the car was smoking a little bit. They haven't done anything at all to the car but look right now, so they haven't fixed anything. We'll try to find out what it is and get back to you guys.
He is 7th in the point standings. And it looked to me like that smoke was coming out the left exhaust pipe.
You see NASCAR's holding him there for coming down pit road too fast, too. 15-second penalty.
When I first saw it, it looked like he smoked over right here. No, he smoked.
You know, Rusty's running along here right now. He's running super good, and he's kind of by himself. He needs to pick it up there. He needs to get up near the front, I feel like. Right at the moment, he's in 11th place.
I'm sure he's running as hard as he can, though, right now, though. He knows that he's got to try to win this race and got to win it to win the championship. And Earnhardt's got to have a problem.
Ricky Rudd right behind him, and Lake Speed, who came from a provisional start up into the top 15.
Had a great run at Charlotte. Lake Speed finished 5th there all day long. He just kept inching up towards the front. Bud Moore puts together a great race car. I drove for him for a long time, and I tell you, he was a father figure to me as far as learning what I needed to do on the racetrack. We didn't stay together for a long time, but quite a nice guy. And Lake Speed's moving on from that race team, but you can bet whoever gets in that car is going to inherit a great race car.
And that's one of the big questions yet to be answered, is who will drive that car next year.
Yeah. Everybody's waiting to see what happens with the 28 car. You know, we've heard rumors and this and that about who's going in the car. Of course, we all want Ernie Irvin back in the car. That's where we want it to end up. But if Ernie has to run a few races next year to get himself back physically fit to go racing, and they have to name a driver to go after the national championship, who's it going to be? I mean,
tell you the truth, but I don't think Bud even knows right now, because, you know, I have breakfast with him a lot of times at the round table back home, and from what I understand from him, he really don't know right now.
Nothing is going to square off and settle out until it's decided who goes in that 28 car. Then those other seats will get filled.
That was a power move by Rusty Wallace. Lake Speed was on the outside, and he comes straight across the racetrack. That could have been a pretty bad accident right there.
Here comes Ricky Rudd under Lake Speed. Jeff Gordon is back on pit road. They're going to try to disconnect one of the rocker arms. He's gone to the garage area now. And get him back in the race. Terry Labonte leads. Todd Bodine has moved up to 2nd. Dale Earnhardt is 3rd. Morgan Shepherd is 4th. Just a moment ago, a very tense moment for Rusty Wallace. He got up toward and almost perhaps into the wall at turn 2. Here's what happened.
Well, you see him going down in turn 1. That's Lake Speed under him. They'd gotten pretty close just a second ago. There's contact there between the two cars. Rusty gets right up, not quite, but I tell you what, that's great car control too. But they got awful close on the back straightaway about 10 laps ago.
If you notice, Bud, Lake Speed did go down and hit the apron, and that automatically threw his car up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the left front wheel just touched the apron.
I'm not sure from that second replay if they did actually touch.
Well, it's unusual to see Rusty's car wiggle that much getting in the corner.
That's a good point.
And you know that these race car drivers, it's getting close to the end of the year, and they have memories just like an elephant. You know, they can remember things. You know, so he remembers that car from up in Martinsville, too.
Whoa. Now, if you remember it, I'm sure he remembers it. Terry Labonte leads. Dale Earnhardt now into 2nd. Bill Elliott's 3rd. Todd Bodine has dropped to 4th.
That car, Terry Labonte's, is awesome. You know, not long ago, Gant went up and made up his lap. Terry Labonte has repassed him, put him that lap back again, and he's pulled out about a 15-car length lead over at Harry Gant now. So that car is awesome. The longer it goes, the faster it runs.
And this is still a good battle here. Back at 11th place, Lake Speed, Ricky Rudd, Sterling Marlin.
Boy, I tell you, there's nothing easy in racing. You have to work for every position. There's a lot of damage on the front of Sterling's car there from a previous wreck. He got in the back of the car a while ago when Dave Marcus and a few of them spun around on the back straightaway. but I'm sure the aerodynamics are not that great. You see everything flapping around on the nose, but he's running quite well. The car's handling great.
For 11th place. Now here's Todd Bodine. He has dropped to 4th, and he's trying to hold off 5th place. Mark Martin in the Valvoline floor.
Yeah, he made that gallant effort. Got all the way up to 2nd. I'm sure he abused the tires a little bit, and now he's paying the price right near the end of the run here. But the great part of a race with the length that you have here at Rockingham is you can adjust the car for later on runs where you can get it better. As you know, if you get loose, you just tighten it up a little bit, and you're right in the fray again.
Mark got down to about 6,500 RPM in the corner, and he just tickles 8,600 down that straightaway.
I seen 168 miles an hour down the front straightaway just now, and that's on used tires. Can you imagine what they're running when they're on fresh?
And he makes the pass.
A little slower down the back straightaway. You don't have the big dog leg to really get the speed up like you do down the front. Yeah, we're getting on up there. 67, 68. 168 miles an hour in Rockingham. Boy, who would ever believe that?
The report on pit road is all the teams are looking for scuffed tires as opposed to brand new sticker tires to put on their cars. Now, when Kenny Schrader had to stay in the garage, Jeff Gordon's team, also owned by Rick Hendrick, tried to get some of Schrader's tires, but they were mounted on a different brand of wheel than what Jeff Gordon's team uses. So things aren't exactly the same from one of those Hendrick teams to the next.
That reminds me of a commercial. He could get more money out of another sponsor, but his crew didn't want it. You know what I mean? We got to keep this monster lit.
Maybe some of them having some trouble with some wheels or something. They're trying to a different wheel.
Possible. There's several different brands involved.
Or it could be offset a little bit more than others or something like that. Maybe.
That could be different wheel construction, maybe little bit different brake rotor clearance, brake caliper clearance. I mean,
they're cheating a little bit, a little more offset.
I wouldn't say that.
Boy, oh boy, Sterling Marlin's car would be a dominant car, I think, if it didn't have all that damage. You see Lake Speed, he dropped down to the bottom of the racetrack. Looks like he has trouble.
And Rusty Wallace is now coming to pit road. So is Harry Gant. Randy Pemberton.
Boy, you're just not seeing Rusty, or used to seeing Rusty Wallace run an average race, but that's what they've been today. Billy Wilburn and Brad Parrott going to work on the right-hand side. They're going to go ahead and take one round of wedge out, which Todd Parrott did on the right-hand side. Scott Robinson goes up with the jack. Buddy Parrott helps put the left front on again. Another great pit stop for these guys. Just not having a good day. 17-3 in the pits. Good stop.
A little bit of smoke from the left front, likely brake smoke, probably not a problem.
Probably is.
Well, the good part, we've eliminated the problem of him having fluid flying out of the car at the early part of the race. It had to be somebody else, or he wouldn't be out there right now.
Terry Labonte leads this race in Rick Hendrick's Kellogg Chevrolet. Dale Earnhardt in second. 1.9 seconds is Labonte's lead. Both in Chevy Luminas, and Dwayne from Iowa called in. Have any of the GM teams thought of switching over to Monte Carlos next year? Oh, yes, they have.
Oh, yeah. I tested for Chevrolet not long ago in Talladega, and I tell you, that's a great race car. It's going to be phenomenal at mile-and-a-half racetracks and all that. Whether it's better than the Lumina at Talladega or Daytona, I'm not sure, but boy, it's got a lot of down pressure in the corner. It's going to be very good.
So it'll be Monte Carlos, Thunderbirds, and Grand Prix in Winston Cup racing next year.
You know, the racetrack right now, we have a cloud over the racetrack, and I'm not sure that Terry Labonte has the car right now. It looks like Earnhardt might be closing in just a little bit on him.
Darrell Waltrip makes a green flag pit stop. There's Labonte.
You know, you're talking about the Monte Carlo. I talked to Childers up in Nashville when we was up there a couple weeks ago. And he seemed like that, to think that...
Here comes Terry Labonte into the pit. Excuse me, David.
The Monte Carlo would be better on the shorter tracks.
Darrell leaving as Terry comes in.
Now there's a mark of somebody that knows what's going on. He started dropping back just a little bit. The tires were giving up. He knew the minute they started giving up, I had to go to the pits.
What?
Well, Terry Labonte brings the Kellogg's Cornflakes Chevrolet into the pits. This will be a 4-tire change. They do not plan to make a chassis adjustment. The car is really working perfectly right now. They are putting scuffs on the car They got a couple of sets from the 29 car of Steve Grissom, and they feel pretty good. They've got 2 more sets of scuffs and hope to get a couple more. That's a good pit stop. He's down and away 19.9 seconds. Pretty good under the gun.
He is the race leader, and so likely now with fresher tires, we'll see many of the rest of the leaders on pit road before too long. Dale Earnhardt assumes the lead here at Rockingham. We'll be right back live on TNN after this. Calamity for Rusty Wallace. He is in the garage. And Bill Elliott, who had taken the lead, makes his pit stop and is very slow pulling out. A 26-second stop for Elliott. Dale Earnhardt also makes a pit stop under green and goes back out with 4 tires. Morgan Shepherd and Ricky Rudd are now on pit road. Dick Trickle has also made a stop. But Wallace came around slowly and went straight to the garage. Todd Bodine is the new race leader. Rusty has climbed out of his car. The hood is up, and the day and the run for the title may be over.
Man, how does that happen? I mean, Rusty Wallace has always had a very, very dependable car, and right here at the end of the year, have all this problem. It just don't make sense.
Plus, he has won the last 3 races in a row at this track.
I know Earnhardt hates to see him go out that way, win the championship that way, but way back in his mind too, he's got a big old smile on his face right now.
I'm sure he's been told on the radio that Wallace is in the garage. Rick Mast makes a stop here. He had taken over the lead just moments ago from Todd Bodine.
Earnhardt will still take it easy, I would say, for another few laps. Then you'll see him start racing and win this race.
You see Mark Martin here just behind Earnhardt going down in turn 1. Martin's car may be the fastest car out there right now.
Let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
We're standing by with Richard Childress. And Richard, I know you'd rather have things happen on the racetrack, but bad luck for Rusty Wallace. Looks like this thing may get wrapped up here today.
Well, we still got a lot of racing to do, and you know, we're just going to see how the day ends up. You know, we wouldn't want to see anything happen to them. You know, we just race as hard as we can, and they do too.
Continue to make adjustments on the car. How is it now?
Well, we've got it better. You know, we're still just a little off from where we'd like to be. Thought he had a problem with the tire that time, so we didn't take a chance and came on in.
And now here's Randy Pemberton.
Rusty Wallace wiping himself off. Rusty, it's been a great year. It's not over yet, but today's over and the championship chase is over.
Well, the championship's over, no doubt about that. And I'd like to congratulate Dale Earnhardt on a great job. We just blew too many motors this year. We had good engines, though, really good engines. But, you know, Talladega and Charlotte here, you just can't have things like that happen. And I got a good engine department. I'm all behind them. Now it's time to get back and see what's going on.
2 races to go. We understand the rumor has Buddy Parrott leaving. What can you comment on that?
Well, yeah, he's just going to leave. He's got a great opportunity to make a whole lot of money, and so he's going to go for that. I wish him all the luck in the world.
2 races to go, of course, flat out for those 2. You ought to be tough at Phoenix and Atlanta.
Well, we'll have a good run at Phoenix, and we'll have a good run at Atlanta. I'm confident. I tell you, really had a good run going here early, you know, and then we got a set of tires that either my tire pressure got off or something, and I had a lot of problems, but then we got to straighten out. Was going back up there, and when the motor let go. So that's racing, and we'll go after him again next year.
A very gracious Rusty Wallace, who is in the garage out of this race, and most likely, though it has not been clinched, most likely out of this title chase. Up front, Sterling Marlin, Ward Burton, Terry Labonte, Dale Earnhardt, and Mark Martin. We'll be right back. Featherlight, the official trailer of NASCAR. For more information, call 1-800-800-1230. Sterling Marlin gives up the lead to come on pit road. He was the last of the leaders to make a pit stop. And now Terry Labonte back up front.
Well, there was an exchange for the 2nd place. Mark Martin got by Dale Earnhardt. And I tell you, Mark is a real fast car right now, but so is the 5-car Terry Labonte. This is going to be an interesting shootout here.
And you can see the sun has popped back out full all the way around the racetrack.
It has. And, you know, Terry's car seems like it runs good, though, when the sun is not out or even when it's out. So.
Well, You'd have to do one or the other, David. So
I said it's, no, I said it was running good both when the sun is out and also when clouds go.
I understand, yeah.
But not all at the same time. We've had turn 2 and 4 in sun, and the rest of the track in shade.
You got it.
Every other combination.
He runs good all the time.
Yes, he does. So here's where Earnhardt is running and how it sorts out. Right now, Dale is in 3rd place, and he has 5 points for leading a lap. Rusty Wallace right now is 29th. He can finish no better than 29th today. And there are still 6 cars that have completed less laps but are still running. So he could be as far back as, say, 35th. Kind of hate to see it end that way. I mean, I really hate to see it end that way. I want it to decide on the
one
racetrack.
thing we're sitting here talking about, a man that's won 9 times this year. You know, everybody wants to scrutinize the points. You know, the guy that wins the most races should have the most points, this, that, and the other. I think it's pretty fair the way the points are distributed and all. But Dale Earnhardt's very lucky to have a championship when somebody wins 9 races and loses to him.
That's true. 12 different drivers have led today's race, and that ties the record for Rockingham.
Well, this is the part of the race that the seat don't fit good. The steering wheel begins to make your hands hurt a little bit. You get tired of using the brakes so much. Just a miserable time of the race because this is when mentally you make mistakes that you don't normally make. It's because you're just kind of sitting there knowing that you have so much more time on the racetrack to run, and you don't want to make a mistake mentally that'll cost you the race. I'm sure Terry Labonte's thinking about that right now. Stay alert. Watch what you're doing. Don't get yourself in a position to give this race away.
And he's about to put a lap on Dick Trickle, who's had a great run today after starting 21st, the fastest second-day qualifier, and pole sitter Ricky Rudd. Ward Burton was leading when he pitted, but he came out of the pits 13th, a lap down. They had a horrendous pit stop, 39.7 seconds. Caution has come out here at Rockingham. Big trouble in the back straightaway. I believe one of those cars is Hut Strickland, the other is Dave Marcus.
Back straightaway hadn't been very good to Dave Marcus today. That's his second time around back over there. Both cars have quite a bit of damage on them.
Well, his car looked like the termite's going to hold it, doesn't it?
No, termite.
Termite.
Not termite.
At WMU, we said termite.
WMU, I don't even want to know. Don't ask him, Mike.
That's Whitney Mill University.
It's what?
Whitney Mill University.
Whitney Mill
University. That's where I went to school. That's where I learned everything.
This incident happened right in front of Dale Earnhardt, who now with Mark Martin will come to the pit lane. Well, Earnhardt will. Yeah, I guess Mark decided he'd come in too. Okay.
Yeah, the green flag's out. Earnhardt earlier in the race almost. Look at the front end on Martin's car here. I don't know what happened, but the hood's all knocked up on his car.
Wonder if he got into that incident as well.
He got into something. No doubt about that.
A lot of damage.
Now, he and Schrader came into this race with Mark in 3rd and Kenny 4th in the points, just 4 points apart. Glenn?
Well, Earnhardt has come in for another 4-tire change, again taking no chances of having run over something on the racetrack. The crew really wasn't ready. Boy, that's a quick stop. Of course, all they did, they didn't have to completely fill it up with gasoline. But the crew wasn't quite ready. They were still getting things picked up from the last pit stop he made under the green. And they did put sticker tires on him that time. I don't think that they have any scuffs down here. I'm sitting on a set of them, but these are already used. Maybe they got one more set left, but they did put stickers on that time.
Well, Richard Childress is famous for saving his best set of tires for the end of the race. We're under caution here at Rockingham. We'll be right back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Napa. We keep America running.
Track's under pretty much full sunshine as we work this 7th caution of the day that came out at lap 321. Terry Labonte coming back on pit road now.
Mike,
let's show you what happened from Mark Martin's car. Dave Marcus spun. Hut Strickland checked up, and Mark had just no time to react. Here's how Earnhardt got through it all.
expect he got a little bit nervous.
You see Harry Gant just behind Earnhardt there. He had to break smoking on that thing.
Now Terry Labonte has come back in. Glenn is there.
Well, he has, Mike. They're changing right side tires. Oddly enough, one of Earnhardt's crewmen just came up to me right before this happened and said, I wonder why Labonte didn't come in. And I said, well, I'm on my way down there to find out. He is in now. Just as soon as he gets out, I'm going to get a word with Gary Dehart, try to figure out that strategy. Don't understand it.
Well, thanks, Glenn. We'll find that out when we come back to Rockingham. Since we're under caution, let's take another break. We'll be right back. Terry Labonte did not make his pit stop with the leaders, but then came back in later. How come, Glenn Jarrett?
Well, we speculated why. Let's ask Gary Dehart. A little unusual strategy there, Gary. What's going on?
I'll tell you what, I messed up a little bit on that time. What we were doing is the other cars stayed out. The cars that won the lead lap stayed out longer than we did while ago on that green stop. We were one of the first ones to start, and they had fresher tires, and I was afraid that they wouldn't pit, but evidently when we stayed out, they did pit. So they was going to be on green tires, and we wasn't. But we just have to race 11 more cars, that's all.
Let's go down to Randy.
Well, Steve Meal, crew chief for Mark Martin. Mark's buckled up the front of that car pretty good, Steve. How's that going to affect it?
Well, either make a ton of downforce or none at all. You know, we're not sure. It bent the hood at a funny angle. It didn't hurt any of the ductwork. We don't believe the engine will overheat. The only issue will be if it lost front downforce or made some, and either cause will make us work on the race car a little bit, but we're in pretty good shape.
We'll find out pretty soon.
We're finding out now. They've just dropped the green once again. Lap 328. We are back to green, and Earnhardt goes straight to the front, taking the lead from Sterling Marlin and dragging Morgan Shepherd with him.
Yeah, and Charlotte, they had a great race against each other right down to the very end. Morgan Shepherd really gets around this racetrack well. The Wood brothers, I don't have to tell you, the man sitting beside me has won them many a time in that car here. So that 21 car, it's good all the way through the race. He's right on Earnhardt's back.
And there's something else about it. Earnhardt's driving like Earnhardt now. It just, I don't know, it just looks like you can tell the difference in the car.
Those Wood brothers have won 6 races here. 4 with David, 1 with Curtis Turner, and 1 with Cale Yarborough. 12 different leaders today. Now, David, that's a lot different from when you used to stink up the show here. You led all but 1 lap here in 1973 to win.
Yeah, Leonard reminded me of that just Friday. And I said, well, what'd you do, mess up in the pits?
Stop.
Yeah.
There's their car with Morgan Shepherd aboard right behind Dale Earnhardt.
Mike, right now is when you find out the guys that take really good care of themselves, who's in good health and everything, because this is part of the race, like I said a while ago, where the drivers begin to show a little fatigue.
Bill Elliott, Michael Waltrip, 4th and 5th place. Mike has had a good run today. And I don't mean to sound surprised when I say that. That's been a contending car all day.
You know, I guess everybody in racing is wondering why Mike hadn't won, because he runs really hard all the time. He don't give anybody in quarters on the racetrack. He tries as hard as anybody. You can see him coming up under Elliott right now. Elliott wasn't long ago. Elliott was leading this race.
Let's give you a Napa field standing update. Napa, we keep America running. Here's how they're running. 12 cars on the lead lap. Rather than showing 12 cars.
That's amazing that Sterling Marlin's car will run as well as it will with the front end beat up like that. That thing has to be an aerodynamic brick.
Well, it's about like Mark Martin's. I think it's just putting more downforce on the front of the car where it's been.
And we'll double check on Sterling Marlin because scoring's now showing him 1 lap down.
So it is.
That would leave us 11 cars on the lead lap.
It's hard to keep up with stuff. It happens so fast here. You can go a lap down and be looking at a car and just swear they're in the lead lap and then not be so. But he's run well all day.
That's right. Harry Gant now just a lap back. Trying to get back on the lead lap ever since. What happened to Harry was they made a green flag pit stop just before that lap 84 caution came out. They were a lap down. They got lapped. They came in and got tires. Came out just barely 2 laps down. Caution.
Harry Gant's one of the drivers that's out there right now that if one of the other cars fall out, he automatically gets their fans. He's the type of person everybody likes, and nothing will make them happier to see them come down 3 wide for the finish here and Harry Gant to win, because everybody likes Harry Gant.
I think you're right. Well, Harry looking forward to the end of this season and trying to notch another win. Randy Pemberton asked him, Harry, how about just one more win here at the Rock before you're done?
Boy, I sure like to. It'd make our trip to Phoenix a whole lot more pleasant if we could win a race here at Rockingham.
Hey, you taking a motorcycle to Phoenix?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Hey, Harley to Phoenix, not a motorcycle, a Harley.
If the guys that ride them say there is a difference.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you one thing. I was with Pearson one day, and he went in the motorcycle shop, and he wanted this little purple shirt in there. And he asked me about it, and I said, well, it looks a little iffy to me. And the girl said, let me ask you this. You ride a Harley? I said, he said, yeah. She said, what do you care what color you wear?
Did you buy it?
Shirt? Yeah, I ended up with it.
Yeah, shirt, David. Here we go.
Well, if we come up on around a green flag pit stop, Sterling Marlin stayed on the track 14 laps longer than Earnhardt on the most recent round. Then after he pitted, Marlin lost a lap because everybody else had fresh tires and could run faster. That's how Sterling fell off the lead lap. He has led this race. Right now it's Dale Earnhardt trying to sew up the championship with 2 races to go. He leads Morgan Shepherd, Rick Mass, Bill Elliott, and Michael Waltrip. We'll be right back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
346 laps down. There is the distance first to second place. Dale Earnhardt leading Morgan Shepherd. Rick Mass 2 seconds behind the leader. Bill Elliott and Michael Waltrip running right together. Morgan Shepherd comes into this race 6th in the point standings, just 31 points behind Ricky Rudd. 158 back of Ken Schrader and Mark Martin. Let's go back to that 4th place battle. Bill Elliott and Michael Waltrip. Michael had a good run yesterday in Dale Earnhardt's Busch car.
He really did.
Finished 3rd. Did a good job all day. Could have won the race. Made a move there that didn't quite pay off for him, but he was right in the thick of things.
You know, I was talking to Earnhardt when he was practicing his car, and I said, you know, he runs awful good in the Busch series, and then the Winston Cup, it just don't seem like he can win. And Earnhardt looked around. He said, if he had a car like this, he could.
That's confidence. Dave Marcus has taken the Terramite construction, number 71, back behind the wall. And up front, it's closed up.
Yeah, Morgan moved right in behind him. I think you made an observation just a second ago about the 3 car. He's back on his game plan, but he's losing a little bit of ground. He might be a little tight now as far as chassis.
Let's find out. Glenn Jarrett.
Well, guys, I'm down in Earnhardt's pit. You know, earlier on I reported that they had 2 pit stalls down here. They got the 2 end spaces. Now I know why. They need the extra pavement. They are wearing it out, walking around back and forth and back in circles, looking at the computer, looking at the scoreboard. They are really, really sweating this thing out.
Rusty Wallace right now as Shepherd goes for the lead. Earnhardt's going to give him room.
Oh, yeah.
And look at this.
I'm surprised he didn't come right back up under him. That's kind of, he does that all the time. He'll let a guy pass him and then pass him back coming off the other corner.
I was going to say Rusty Wallace is right now in 33rd place. His car is in the garage. He's out of the race, but still behind him there are several cars that have not retired from the race. So Wallace 33rd is the best he'll be today. It is conceivable that if something happened to Earnhardt's car, the championship would not be locked up, and that's why there's still a bit of nervous pacing back and forth down there in Richard Childress' pit.
But when he goes to Phoenix, he can breathe a lot better.
Oh, I think so. Morgan Shepherd hasn't won since the Snowplow 500 in March of '93 at Atlanta. Our 800 line is open if you have questions for us. 1-800-451-7331 is the toll-free number. David from Michigan called and asked who was the first team to have radios in their cars. We know the fellow that claims to be.
I don't know. That would be a good question.
Me. I think I was the last one to ever have radios in the car.
I think that's true.
I think I was the last one.
Tim Fly said that he and car owner Ernest Woods had a two-way radio in their car on the Daytona Beach course in 1954. They won the race, but were disqualified for carburetor
violation. Was that Morse code, or was that a real radio?
Right. 12 different leaders. That ties the track record. 23 lead changes so far today. 7 cautions for 38 laps.
Talking about radios, Mike, I know that we was talking about that not very long ago. And the first one I know of, and even Bud Moore, as long as he's been around, you know, he's older than White Thread. And so he said that he was the first one, which I really think so, because I remember the radios guys there in Spartanburg getting together with Bud and putting a radio in the car for the first time with Jack Smith's car.
Quite possible. Todd Bodine is the 9th place car, and he's having quite a battle with Bud Moore's car, driven by Lake Speed, the number 15, Ford Quality Care Thunderbird, and the Skybox number 32 of Dick Trickle. Here's the 5th place battle, right in and amongst Jeff Burton's Ray Busta's car. Terry Labonte takes it away from Michael Waltrip.
Nice man's right there.
Yep, Terry had a real bad pit stop a while ago, put him in track position that he didn't want to be in, but he's making his way back towards the front. He's got a great race car. Patience right now and just keep running like he's running. He'll be back up front.
We say a bad pit stop. It wasn't the mechanics that did anything wrong. It's that he didn't pit with the rest of the leaders. He was the leader, stayed out, everybody else came in, so then they had to come in and get fresh tires. So he made the last pit stop and had to restart last among the cars on the lead lap. But Labonte climbed back up to 5th.
Back up front.
At the North Carolina Motor Speedway, 358 laps have been completed. Morgan Shepherd leads Earnhardt. Remember about a million laps ago when Rick Mast wrecked? He got together with Greg Sachs, got up in the wall in turn 2. He's now the 2nd place car. He's flying. Take a look at him going by Dale Earnhardt while we were in break.
Makes it look easy. This is what hero material is made out of right there. Get into a crash like he did early in the race, and now he's back up to 2nd and actually pulling down on Morgan Shepherd. So we have to take our hat off. This car is not very aerodynamic. The right side is really caved in.
Oh, yeah, this side looks good. Wait till you see the right side.
It don't matter. It looks good to him right now the way it's running, I guarantee you.
Earnhardt stays right with him. But Rick Mast is up to 2nd place. He stayed on the lead lap all day. Chases down Morgan Shepherd.
Boy, oh boy. Gene just rode in from Phoenix, called in on the 800 line. I bought tickets for next week's race. They are on the hill. Can I see from there? You can see Charlotte from there. It's a wonderful place. The racetrack is very, very visible. It's not a racetrack that you lose sight of anything. All the seats there are great.
They can see good there, but they have to keep up on that hill. They have to keep looking down between the legs to see if the snake's there.
Oh, they chase the snakes off that hill.
Get out of here, Pearson.
The day before the NASCAR guys move in the garage area, they go in and kill all the snakes in the garage area. You might find one under the trash can anywhere there.
Buddy Joe will be proud of that little observation.
It's a good place to sit and see the race. It's a good view. Michael Waltrip in 6th, and Ricky Rudd, the pole sitter, coming back up after him. And he's running Michael down.
Boy, Ricky fought all day today. He's had a loose condition on that race car, but looks like he dialed it in pretty well now. He's right down on that white line, getting under Michael Waltrip coming out of the corner. And he's got a great race car, or he wouldn't have been on the pole, but a little bit of handling problems here. He goes straight to the rear.
So Rudd moves up a notch. Still a good day for Michael Waltrip. Kyle Petty's taking his car back to the garage.
Yeah, that hadn't been a day at all for him. He's been in there about as much as I have. Back and forth in the garage.
4th place. Terry Labonte's going to take it away from Bill Elliott here.
That is a great race car, but that track position, it may have hurt him a bunch. If they keep going green and don't have any more caution, he's going to have to run really hard to catch up.
Labonte arguably the fastest car here. Under sunlight, sunshine, shade, doesn't seem to matter.
You know, if he'd been when the rest of the guys did, look how far ahead he'd be.
I'd rather not, thank you. back up front.
You see Rick Mast has tracked down the 21 car, Morgan Shepherd, now, and gaining every time they go around. This car should have been out of the race as hard as it hit earlier in the race with Greg Sachs going in turn 1, caved the right side in. They made the adjustments, and now he's going for the lead. Like I say, that's what hero material is made out of right there.
Boy, he has run down Morgan Shepherd in a hurry.
And as high as Morgan run, he's going to take the lead.
Well, Morgan's run so many different types of racetracks. He's running the only groove that car really works well for him right now. Unfortunately, it's not the fastest groove. You know, Mike, you see all this damage on the right side of Rick Mast's car. And one thing that he probably has is a real problem with heat and all, because the inner panels in these cars are made of aluminum. And when you crush that side in like that, all the heat off the tires and everything comes up into the race car, and all the fumes and everything. So he's earning his biscuits right now, believe me.
I just can't believe this car has come back to the front to lead after what it had been through.
You know, that's one of the things that makes you so tired running here at this race, because it is so long, is the heat inside those cars. It's time involved. It's not really the physical part of it, it's the timing involved. They get sit there so long and so hot that let's notice Dave Marcus pulling the guy to bits.
Yep, Dave's back in the race after a long stay behind pit wall.
You know,
let's show you what happened to Rick Mast way back at lap 86. He was trying to put a lap on Greg Sachs.
Ooh, he gets into him right there. Now here's the real cruncher. When they come back and hit this time, that sends Sachs right up into the wall. Around he goes. A lot of damage to the right side. Greg Sachs out of the race.
Now, folks, let's make it clear. He did not turn back up into Greg Sachs. He was trying to catch his car and save it and keep it from sliding.
Right. It took a second bite. When he was trying to correct, it took a second bite and turned him right into him.
And Rick Mast from that wreck has come back to lead this race at 374 laps. We'll be right back. Live racing on TNN doesn't stop after Phoenix. Beginning Sunday, November 20th, Tucson Raceway Park. Winter Heat. TNN's new winter racing series, 8 weeks. And the first of those on November 20th will feature the NASCAR Super Trucks. Richard Childress unveiled his yesterday. Sammy Swindell is going to have a Super Truck ride.
I may come out of retirement just to run one of those things one time. We're going to do that out there at Tucson. I cannot wait, because we have a test drive in those trucks. And it's hard to keep your hands off something that's that nice. I just wanted to get in there and ride it yesterday.
I think you ought to.
I think so too.
You're going to do it also, Mr. Mike.
I got offered a ride last night in that series.
Boy, who was that?
Maybe Buddy can't tear up a truck.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Well, he's out here on the track right now. I won't tell you. How many times have you unretired?
Unretired 422 times.
Leads the league.
Very unsuccessful returns, but I got to tell you.
Rick Mast leads this race as he puts a lap on Joe Nemechek in the Meineke Mufflers car. Joe's going to have his own team next year. And
Ricky Craven will be in the... Well, he says it's not official. It's probably the most unguarded thing that's going around in the garage area, because everybody thinks that he's going...
But he wouldn't tell us yesterday that he's going in that car.
Well, you want to make an announcement, you
Certainly.
know?
So we won't tell you Ricky Craven's going to drive the Kodiak number 41 next year, but he might. Morgan Shepherd, he's looking for his first win since Atlanta in '93 in the snow out race. He's up there in second spot. So 2 Fords lead this field. Kenny Wallace, he's had a bit of a tough day here at the Rock. Had a good solid run yesterday in the Busch race, but Kenny is 18th. Bobby Hamilton tore up 2 cars, one in practice, one in Mike Waltrip, and he got together. He's in 34th spot with a car that was banged up, but they patched it together to get it to run today.
Yeah, Mike, that car wasn't even supposed to be in this race. He tore up his good car.
Dale Earnhardt in 3rd. And at this moment, given Rusty Wallace's position out of the race, if Earnhardt finishes 18th or better today, he will be the champion. Now, folks have called in and asked, does he even have to go to Phoenix and Atlanta if he wraps it up? Technically, no, because he keeps those points and nobody could overtake him. But would you stay home?
Let me tell you something. I bet he's got a contract to go there. What you want to bet?
I think he'll be there.
Yeah.
Terry Labonte won this race in 1983. Currently sits in 4th place. And coming up through the field, you watch Labonte to be on the top of the leaderboard before long. Jeff Gordon led this race, a good part of it. Had a bit of trouble, went to the garage, came back out, and he is 40 laps down. After they made engine repairs, he led 101 laps today. Darrell Waltrip in the Western Auto number 17. He's in 15th place, first of the cars, 2 laps down. 3-time winner of this race.
Every time you see Bill Elliott, that's him there in the Budweiser number 11 car. Every time you look at him, he's fighting with somebody for position. He's had a hard day today. He's running the higher line than anybody. Ooh. Jeremy Mayfield come very, very close to losing that race car.
He's had several close calls today. He's in 25th, 8 laps back in the Fingerhut Ford of Cale Yarborough.
The groove hadn't got up that high yet. That's
no. No.
I don't think the groove will ever be up that high.
Not this race, it won't.
This is the end car with Jeremy. Look, he's going up right now. Down the back straightaway. Let's see what he's turning. RPM wise, you can get to
83.
Not 8,300. That's still churning pretty hard on used tires, believe me. See what he's running down the front straightaway. I've seen 164 miles an hour, so he's off just a little bit of what the lead cars are running down the front straightaway. We had reports of 168 miles an hour earlier.
Well, you know, buddy, look at the right front right here. He has hit something sometime today there and messed his body up just a little bit for his air damage.
He had to check up to miss 2 of the wrecks today.
You know,
did a good job doing it.
David just brought up something that's very important. A long time ago, aerodynamics didn't mean a thing at Rockingham. But right now, you're running 168 miles an hour, boy. You have to have a slick race car.
We used to come here and run short track cars, what they say, short track cars. But now they run in cars like you would run at Charlotte, Atlanta, places like that.
Todd Bodine running in 9th for car owner Butch Mock, whose only win here was in 1988 when Neil Bonnet started 30th and won for Butch Mock and his then partner Bob Rahilly.
There's Michael Waltrip. Had a great run here yesterday in Dale Earnhardt's car.
Right behind Todd Bodine.
Whoa. You just think about this. Next year, this will be the last lap.
Well, that's next year.
Yeah, let's don't even talk about that.
Ted Musgrave was one of the fastest cars here in practice, but it appears that the Roush team did not get the right race set up under Musgrave. He is 4 laps down in 21st place.
Our statistician almost put us out of business just then. He fell all over our equipment here in the booth.
He just started the wreck. He didn't finish it.
We're talking about Craig Fielding, folks.
Dick Trickle's in 10th place, and he's been on the lead lap all day. Battle for 5th. Ricky Rudd jumps under Bill Elliott, and he's going to take 5th spot away. Well, Rudd's worked. Boy, Bill Engel must have done quite a job on that car, because at the start of the race, the car was so loose he could hardly drive it. Went from the pole to 10th spot.
Bill
in about 5
Elliott
laps.
that car is extremely loose getting in the corner there. He had to chase that car up the bank or spin it out.
You know, Dale,
go ahead.
Excuse me, buddy. You know, Dale Jarrett was about the same way. He couldn't run a lick first part of this race, and now he's sticking right on bottom, running good.
Yeah, Dale Jarrett running much better, but 3 laps down in the Interstate Battery Chevy of Joe Gibbs. 396 laps complete here at the Rock. Less than 100 to go. We'll be right back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by AC-Delco. It's like buying time.
Caution is out for the 8th time today as the leaders come to pit road. Rick Mast leads this race, but his Skoll teammate was involved in a collision at turn 4 with Michael Waltrip that has brought out this caution. Glenn?
Mast comes in. They're going for a 4 tire change as usual. There's still no chassis adjustment. I tell you, He's fought back from a long way back, and I thought he had some right side damage, some suspension damage when he had that altercation with Greg Sachs early, but evidently not the case because they are not making any chassis adjustments, and why should it? The fastest car on the racetrack. Real good pit stop. Morgan Shepherd does beat him out, but I believe Masters going to get out second.
And Earnhardt third. You're correct, Glenn. Great stop by the Wood brothers to get Morgan Shepherd out first. Here's what happened in turns 3 and 4.
Ooh, looked like Harry may have moved up, try and get by a trickle, and got into the side of the 30 car, Michael Waltrip, and they both got up in the wall.
Here comes Rick Mast. Whoa.
Whoa. Can't get any closer than that.
Another angle.
Okay, Harry's down on the flat there. That's what happened today to a lot of people. When you get the left side tires down on the inside, it shoots you right up into the outside lane of traffic.
So we're under caution as pit stops continue. We'll update you on the running order just as soon as we come back.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Stanth, the world leader in automotive caps and thermostats.
Getting ready for the restart. Here's where they're running. The cars on the lead lap are positions 1 through 10. Then Ward Burton is shown 1 lap down. Darrell Waltrip, Dale Jarrett, and Jeff Burton 2 laps down. From Michael Waltrip on back, everybody's 3 or more laps down. And Kyle Petty is now driving in relief of Brett Bodine. Bodine had a bit of the flu earlier this weekend. Let's check with Glenn.
We're standing by in Rick Mast pit again, and Rich, it seems like about 3 hours ago we were here last to talk to you. But we speculated maybe there was some damage to the right side of the car, but it seems to be okay now.
There is some damage. It changed the handling a little bit. We've adjusted it to what it is now. It's not quite as good as it was, but the car's still pretty good.
Well, it looks awfully good. It looks like he's really taken to this new surface on this racetrack, too. Back to green.
And Rick Mast is third. Dale Earnhardt just edged out ahead of him coming out of the pits. That last pit stall position. So Mast lines up third behind Morgan Shepherd and Dale Earnhardt for the restart.
What a nice man. I don't really know Richard Jack. Oh, we have a crash in turn 4.
Todd Bodine. Oh, here comes the field, and everybody misses him. Caution. Great job by Kyle Petty, among others.
That's what scares you. Come around through that like that, and somebody sitting in the middle of it.
Dale Jarrett's going to try to get a lap back from the leader as we come around. Morgan Shepherd's not going to give it up without a fight. Todd Bodine into the wall in turn 4, but drives around to the back pit in Butch Mock's car. Factory Stores Ford. He had a great run going, 9th place.
Mike, that's one place you don't want to damage a car. That's where they put the fuel and everything else in these cars. The left rear is crumpled up, and it really makes it tough to even service the car if you do fix it.
There's Butch Mock in the red shirt, the car owner, surveying the damage. Here's what happened. He's on the right side of your screen.
In the very back there, that's Todd Bodine coming on the outside. It just breaks loose right there. I don't know whether a tire went flat or what, but the car just darted right towards the outside wall. Now, here's the incredible part. Everybody makes it by here. Look at everybody coming down.
Look at Kyle in the green car. Whew.
Good save.
Just made it. Had a lot of calls on the 800 number from Canada. Yes, Randy McDonald is still in the race. He's running in 28th position, and yes, he is from Canada, Oshawa, Ontario. The former Players Challenge driver, making his Winston Cup debut in Billy Hagan's car today. We'll be right back. The folks at Steel, makers of a full line of quality outdoor power equipment, bring you these aerial views in North Carolina Motor Speedway. As we get set to go back to green, that's the backstretch. Pit and garage area as they approach turn 3. Pace car off to the side. Morgan Shepherd at the front, Dale Earnhardt, Rick Mast, Ricky Rudd, the pole sitter. fell way back and has fought his way back to fourth. The lead lap cars are in that outside row as we get ready to go racing.
Yeah, and you're sitting there trying to make up your lap, and if you jump, NASCAR is watching you, they bring you right in. You have to let the outside line dictate the start.
Dale Jarrett trying to get one of his laps back down to the inside. Can't do it. Morgan Shepherd pulls away. Earnhardt, Mast, and Rudd nose to tail. Second, third, and fourth, and in fifth, Terry Labonte. There's Labonte and Mark Martin.
Yeah, that bad pit stop when he had to, well, it wasn't a bad pit stop. Let me rephrase that. They made a decision not to come in when everybody else did a while ago, and then they lost a lot of track position when they stopped. And now that's all over with now. He's right back in the fight. I think the best car out there, too, by the way.
81 laps to go. Three abreast.
That'll have to change.
It does. Mike Wallace thinks better of that. Lake Speed and Bill Elliott, two lead lap cars, go at it for seventh place.
Wow. It looks to me like Lake Speed can just drive down on the very bottom of the racetrack and stay there. Bill Elliott's fighting that car just a little bit. He's not able to keep it down on the white line like he would want to do here. There's Ward Burton in the 31 car.
Just behind them, Mark Martin, and then Dick Trickle. Trickle in seventh place.
That is an ugly hood, but the car's running well. It's just not quite as good as it was before he took that shot in the nose a while ago when he ran up and hit Hutch Strickland in the back in a wreck on the back straightaway.
Up front, Earnhardt just a car length back of Morgan Shepherd.
Boy, this is a familiar sight. That three car coming towards the front.
Do they touch?
You'll know in just a second. Morgan Shepherd will let you know, because I tell you what, he's a very, very tough competitor. I don't think they touched. It was very close, though.
Morgan's what you call a money racer.
Morgan's a racer, period.
You put it out there,
you what,
he'll go get it.
He's been a good racer for a long time, and now he's with a team that can kind of showcase his abilities, because the Wood Brothers are great people to run for. Morgan Shepherd's as good a race car driver as anybody in the field here.
He's trying to move up into the top 5 in points, but he's just right now 2 positions ahead of the 5th place point car, Ricky Rudd.
Rick Master, the third car in that shot right there that we're showing you. He's coming toward the front. He just has to wait about 10 laps for this car to really start working well. That's Dick Trickle there in the 32 car. He fought all day. The 15 car there, Lake Speed, he's fought all day trying to get to the front, but he's got a good race car.
Dick Trickle has run awful good. You know, he's surprising as much trouble as he's had all week long, and then come back and run as good as he has.
Had one of the quickest cars in practice, but crashed on his first lap of qualifying. Said there was something left on the racetrack up there by a car at the end of Busch practice just before qualifying. He got himself into the turn 4 wall, but came back, was the fastest second-day qualifier, and has been on the lead lap all day.
Boy, Dover, Delaware, Trickle had one great run there. About 10 laps to go, he had problems with the car, but he fought right up front, led the race some. Always glad to see somebody. He's won over 1,000 races in his life.
That's astonishing. Darrell Waltrip climbs the hill.
Yeah, he's got something wrong, or either he got up there and it started taking off the wall, but he's off the pace a little bit.
He might have found out he was in 13th place.
I don't think they'll make him run up the hill, Mike.
I know, buddy.
Especially he just dropped back one.
See how I'm getting like Pearson. He'll straighten you up if you make a mistake.
That's right. Well, Terry Labonte has caught Ricky Rudd. This is for 4th place. Rudd looking in the mirror at the car he used to drive for Rick Hendrick. Now owns his own team.
That 5 car has pretty well been able to move when he got ready to. He's right on the bottom of the racetrack. That is the preferred line. He should go right on by Ricky.
And Ward Burton, who is on a lap by himself, 1 lap down, in 10th place, moves past Rudd. Labonte just scooted away after he made the pass.
Look at Burton, though. I mean, Terry Labonte's supposed to have the fastest car on the racetrack, and Ward Burton is really giving him all he can stand right now. That kid right there, you watching the next couple of years, he's going to move in there. He's going to be like a Jeff Gordon.
I think he'll do his share of winning. Now Dick Trickle and Lake Speed have caught Mark Martin. And that's now a 4-car battle for 6th place. And the track is shaded once again.
See Lake Speed right there in the 15 car, 11 car, Bill Elliott there. They've been racing for about an hour and a half right now, and they've been about 3 or 4 car lengths from each other. And neither one of them seems to want that position bad enough to make a move on it.
Well, when you see one of them, you see the next. Right together. They've been running together all day long.
That's Mark Martin with the bowed up hood there. He received from Naxton earlier in the race.
You know, Jarrett don't seem like he can keep his car right on bottom like he could just a few minutes ago.
It seems when the weather changes here at Rockingham, Mike, you can see the cars. The ones that are on the bottom are the ones that are making all the time. When you see a guy chasing around the top part of the racetrack, it's because the car won't stick low enough to maintain that preferred line around the racetrack. They're having trouble when they're up high.
Well, the bottom is still the place to get around if you can. If you can stick down there, that's the short way around and it's the fast way around. And the sun pops back out again down in turn 1. Been a strange day to chase the handling on the race car.
Yeah, that's a nightmare for the guys that have to make the adjustments, because the driver will come on when it gets cool, it tightens the car up, and then when, of course, when the sun comes out, makes the car push or either really get bad loose. So it's a nightmare for the guy that really is chasing that perfect setup for a long distance run, and you have to really be careful not to over adjust.
And do you, when you're in the race car and the handling starts to go away, do you wonder if it's the car before you start wondering if it's the track or if somebody spilled something on it or something like that?
Well, the first thing you start doing is chasing around on the racetrack to find a faster way around the racetrack and try to adjust. Now, that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand that makes Rusty Wallace so great, is he's an engineer in that race car.
Yes.
And he chases this racetrack. He's out of the race right now, but the reason he won 3 races in a row is he's a master at picking a good place to run and making that car go the fastest with a problem.
Good point. Wallace will finish 35th today. You know, the Miller Pit Crew of the Race Award will probably go to one of the crews of the up front cars, but one of my votes would go to Kenny Schrader's car team. They are still working to fix this car after it lost a drive shaft. There's Ken Howes, the crew chief. Schrader's right behind the car waiting to hop back in. He's in it. In fact, he's back in the car now. They're just 4 points away from Mark Martin going into this race. He needs to get all he can. They're going to get back out there.
You know, it don't really take that long to put a drive shaft in a car, but I'm sure when it came out, it busted the transmission and everything else. So they have quite a bit of change in quite a few things there.
But he'll get back out and try to put some points on the board.
Mike, that's very important where you set up there at the Waldorf Astoria at the end of the year, too, in New York. And those guys want to be at one of the head tables there. That's why they're working like that. And the pride of the race team.
If you're in the top 10, you go up on stage. If you're in the next 10, you sit in the audience. If you're in the next 10, you watch it from home.
Yeah, I'm getting used to that.
Oh.
Oh, man. Look at Dick Trickle there. He's giving Mark Martin all he can stand right now. He's racing him hard as he can go.
12 different leaders, 26 lead changes today. Here goes Trickle underneath Mark Martin. And Dick Trickle moves up a notch. 9 cautions so far in this race. Less than 100 laps to run. Make it 60 laps to go. Second place. Rick Mast has moved back up on Morgan Shepherd.
Yeah, they got a great setup in that race car for a long distance run. Right at first, they kind of pulled away about 15 car lengths on him, and now you can see he's catching Morgan every lap.
And they're kind of getting close on the leader. They're 1.6 seconds back. Here goes Mast down to the bottom and shoots on through.
Now there was you know, you hear about give and take. That was give and take. Morgan seen that the one car was a little faster. It's not time to really get down there and make it too tough on anybody. He moved over and let him move in a second.
Let's go to the Wood Brothers pit. Here's Randy.
Well, we have checked to see if these guys will attempt to go all the way. Morgan is complaining that the car is loose, but I don't think they're going to try and fix it, not unless they catch a caution, because the 21 team is going to go all the way. Most teams will try it. I don't think Earnhardt will, because if he runs out going into turn 3, he's going to lose a lot of spots, and you can't jeopardize the championship here today. But as far as Terry Labonte goes, he's also going to try and go all the way, guys. Thanks, Randy.
Well, Rick Mast just shot on past. We'll see if he's got enough to run down Earnhardt. He used up a little bit of time getting by Morgan Shepherd, so the interval is now 2 seconds. A little further back, let's pick up the battle for 7th place. Mark Martin and Bill Elliott now.
Bill Elliott was running behind Lake Speed just a second ago. He kind of picked up the pace a little bit. Now he's moved away and moving in on Mark Martin.
Ken Schrader is back in the race. In the remaining 60 laps, he could move up as many as 3 positions.
Well, he just won the Attaboy Award. I guarantee you that's, you guys back home at Race on a Weekly racetrack, never give up means a lot. And those guys went in there, they could have said, okay, we just won't even worry about it. But that's what the spirit of a winner is, to go back out there and try as hard as you can.
Like this guy, Bill Elliott. Finally worked on Mark Martin to the point where he got past, shot up the racetrack again, but he now moves up into 8th place. Now they're about 11 seconds behind the leader. Where did this silly rumor start about Earnhardt going to Indianapolis to run next year? We've got a lot of calls on that.
That's as silly as me saying I'm going to buy the Biltmore estate. I mean, that, no, I don't think so. And neither is he going to IndyCars. Earnhardt, I guarantee you nothing he wants to do. He wants to chase that 8th title and go right on. Dale Earnhardt's happy. Richard Childress is happy. And Dale has a race team of his own. He runs his own Busch Grand National team. There's a lot of pride in what he does, and I'm sure he's not going to say, okay, I've done what I want to do here, and I'm going to move on. I think he's still got goals he wants to set in this race.
He definitely does. I was talking to Earnhardt, and I said, if you win a 7 championship, are you going to retire? You know, that's the first thing anybody always asks. And he said, definitely not. He said, I'm going to win at least 8 before I quit.
He laps past West Coast driver Rick Corelli, total of 61. We'll be right back to Rockingham after this.
Today's exclusive coverage of the AC-Delco 500 on TNN is brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We are driving excitement.
.46 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt leads Rick Mast by 1.6 seconds, so that gap is narrowing just a bit. Look who's up to 3rd. Terry Labonte has passed Morgan Shepherd. Ricky Rudd is the 5th place car. Dick Trickle is 6th. Bill Elliott 7th. Mark Martin back to 8th. Lake Speed is 9th, and Ward Burton 1 lap down is 10th. Boy, Earnhardt, he just continues to mow him down.
Well, he's doing what brought him here. He run hard all year. Right now, I would say if the car is working well, to change that pattern that he's running right now would really jeopardize the way the car works in the corner and all. So he's doing the thing that got him here. He's running well all day. He's been very patient at times, but the car is getting around the racetrack. Why would he slow up?
Let's go to his pit. Here's Glenn.
Well, let's ask Andy Peeker. Andy, we've been speculating whether you guys can make it all the way or not. Can you go the rest of the way on fuel and tires?
Yeah, we go all the way on fuel. Looks like the tires have been going pretty good, so we're good to go.
What about these last 200 laps? Been the longest ones you've ever seen?
Yeah, they have.
All they've been doing is pacing and waiting, guys, but he can go all the way, no sweat.
Thanks, Glenn. If Earnhardt clinches today, and it's not a done deal, it'll be the first time since Cale Yarborough in 1978 clinched the title with 2 races to go. Earnhardt must finish 18th. And right now, the 19th place car is 7 laps down. So with 7 laps to go in this race, Earnhardt would clinch the championship.
Mike, that sounds like everything's pretty much in the air, but I'll tell you something. From there to the back straightaway could be the end of the whole deal. So you never take anything for granted. This type of racetrack here, you have to be on your guard all the time, and anything can happen. Look at the car he just passed there, the whole back end on it. it wasn't but about 15 laps ago. That was a perfect race car, Michael Waltrip, and he got in the wall and tore it up. So anything can happen.
Earnhardt right now could finish as far back as 29th in this race. If he wins, he would pick up 122 today to go with the 321 lead he had.
But he feel like he's pretty well got it won, or he wouldn't be driving the way he's running right now.
I would agree. Question is Rick Mast coming?
I would say he's on his way, but he's running down one of the best that's ever been in a race car. And David, you know yourself, you said we were comparing race car drivers. I guess that guy right there. And I know a lot of people, I get a lot of people tell me, you know, you shouldn't brag on Earnhardt as much as you do. You got to brag on that front.
You got to.
Yeah.
You know,
watch this.
And
there is Rick Mast.
He might be catching it, but you know, when he catches it, he still got to pass it.
That's right.
So, and Earnhardt is one of the toughest men on the racetrack to pass. Well, if he wants you to do.
Earnhardt has won here. He's locked up the title. I'm pulling for this man right here. I want Rick Mast to make his first win right here in front of everybody because he deserves to win. He's run up front so many times and had so much bad luck. I want to see him win.
He really does. You know, he sat on the pole at Indianapolis, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So anybody can do that and come here and run away. He has all day today and spun out and everything else and wrecked and come back to the front like that. He deserves to win.
Earnhardt seeking his 7th championship to tie him on the all-time list with Richard Petty. No one else has won more than 3. Cale Yarborough, Lee Petty, David Pearson with 3 titles. 1.2 seconds.
That's what Earnhardt said. He said he don't win the championship. Every time somebody mentions it, say he's tied Richard Petty. He wants to be the 8th time.
Well, Richard will still be the king, but there has to be a special place in the record book for Earnhardt.
Now he's the king in your book.
David, don't start.
Folks, for the record, David Pearson has the highest winning percentage of any driver to regularly compete on the NASCAR circuit. Richard Petty has won the most races, but David Pearson has the best batting average.
They say that Rick Mast is pulling down on Earnhardt as we speak, and you can see it right here in this frame. I mean, he's reeled him in some 20 car lengths in the last 5 laps, so this thing's far from being over, and Rick Mast is very hungry for a win. Ooh, under a second. It won't be long if he keeps running like he's running right now. He'll be hammering on that door.
What a comeback it would be for Rick Mast, involved in a wreck when he slid up the racetrack into Greg Sachs to come back and win this. Dick Trickle in 6th place. Bill Elliott's come back to Trickle.
I feel like Earnhardt right now is so happy, you know, to where he's running and feel like he got the championship sewed up that he really is not paying any attention to Rick Mast.
I would be. One thing I've never had you see Bill Elliott taking a look underneath Trickle there down the front straightaway. Dick Trickle, that car was torn up pretty bad after he tried to qualify here. He backed it in the 4th turn wall, and they've worked on that car and got it back in here. These guys have done a great job of bringing that car back in here and racing one of the best finance teams in all of racing, the Budweiser car there. Dick Trickle and them, they kind of run that thing on a shoestring operation, and he deserves all the mention we can give.
Looks like Bill Elliott's going to get underneath Trickle. They both carry high up the racetrack. Ford versus Chevrolet here. Tight racing for 6th.
Up close and personal. That's what
you race Trickle, you'll know you've been in a race.
Oh yeah. He looked like James Cagney to me in the face every once in a while. I look at him when he's backing out of the garage area and all. He got that James Cagney type of look. Of course, he drives it like Dick Trickle. I'll tell you what, he's one of the better race car drivers in this part of the world.
Ever. Mark Martin is going to close in on them as they battle side by side. Mark Martin's going to come right back up to them.
Mark Martin's running a little bit higher now than what he's been running too. Maybe the groove's moved up and it feels better. A little higher.
Bill Elliott finally makes the move there and gets by Trickle.
And here's Terry Labonte the third place car. And what's the story there, Randy?
Well, the savior for the Hendrick Motorsports stables, Terry Labonte, has just radioed in, says he doesn't think that car is going to last 30 laps. It's ready to blow any moment. So no one knows, even Terry. We're just going to have to keep an eye on him. Boy, that would be awful for those guys today.
You can see Morgan Shepherd's pulling up on him coming out of the corner there. That's usually power lossage of some type. I don't know what the problem could be, but certainly hope he makes it. He's run too hard today.
Bobby Labonte very slow in the back straightaway. The Bill Davis team looking for a sponsor for next year. And looks like they're in trouble right now. Going to come into the pits on the front side. Terry Labonte, his older brother, trying to hold on to third here. We thought he might have something for Rick Mast and Dale Earnhardt. Morgan Shepherd saying the car's a bit loose, and there are your lead cars. Bobby Labonte's gone to the garage.
Boy, Rick Mast is pulling down as fast as he can, but I tell you what, catching him and passing him is another story.
28 laps to go. You'll see them when we come back. Steel makers of a full line of outdoor power equipment, including famous steel chainsaws, bring you these aerial views. Rick Mast has caught Dale Earnhardt. Well, who's going to win it? Glenn?
Well, Mike, I think that I'm going to go with my heart instead of my head. I think Rick Mast is going to win it because I think if he puts any pressure at all on Earnhardt, Earnhardt's going to back off and let him go. He doesn't want to take any chances at this time.
Randy?
Well, I'm going with my head, even though I want to go with my heart, and I'm still going with Rick Mast.
Buddy?
Well, I put Rick Mast in his first Winston Cup car, and I want to be here when he wins his first Winston Cup race. I've always thought he was a great race car driver, and he's proving it right now.
David?
Yeah, he's sticking his nose under him every once in a while, and definitely, he like I say, he's caught him. And I'm kind of like Glenn. I don't think that Earnhardt would take any chances and try to hold it back at this point. He's happy about winning the championship.
I think he would. I think Earnhardt wants to go all the way to victory lane and not share it with anybody today. And if this stays green and gets down, it could be a gas mileage situation. We'll see. Here's Terry Labonte and Morgan Shepherd side by side for third place. John Andretti being overlapped by those two.
You see, Terry's running a higher groove, and he's run all day today. When you're having engine trouble, the thing you do is get that car a little bit higher up towards that wall in case it does come apart. You can drive it up higher and kind of feather it into the wall rather than it just backing straight up into the wall.
Oh. You notice that since Rick has caught Earnhardt, he's running in the corner seems like a little bit harder, and he's running a little bit higher on the racetrack. He goes higher. If he keeps doing that, Rick Mast is going to stick it under him in a few minutes.
Well, that's a very nervous position to put Rick Mast in, too. He would rather be racing somebody that wasn't running for the national championship, and you're trying to make a move there underneath him, because if you got into him right now, you'd never hear the end of it.
Oh, he won't do that. He'll watch that.
Yeah, but to win his first race to Rick Mast is every bit as big as Dale Earnhardt winning that 7th championship. Earnhardt would still have a chance to clinch next week or in Atlanta. Rick Mast might not have this good a chance again. I think if he gets the least little bit of opening, he'll take it.
He'll take it, but he's a smart driver. He won't do anything, like David said, he won't do anything real stupid, you know, like drive in there, make it 4 deep or something, and maybe knock out Earnhardt.
Coming up on Joe Nemechek. Rick Mast started 8th. Led 58 laps so far.
You've seen Rick Mast come from about 30 car lengths back and catch Earnhardt. When he caught him, he started running and backing off the same place that Earnhardt has, and he really hadn't
trouble
that much.
Darrell Waltrip has hit the wall in turn 4.
Ooh.
Caution is out. Could that 40 race finishing streak be in jeopardy?
I'd say.
Oh.
Left front is not turning on that car. That means a lot of damage.
Did the leaders get the caution? That is the question. They did. Darrell Waltrip has been running at the finish of 40 straight races. And that streak appears it may end today.
I bet you one thing. If it can be made back,
oh, yes,
he'll make it. He's talking to him right now about what they need to have in the pits to fix it.
So we're under caution. Any question of fuel mileage is a race. Now, will they pit? to take on tires.
This is the chess game of all times. They can't come in right now. That red flag means pit road is closed, so they have to wait until the green flag comes out.
Now, if they come in for tires, do you take 2 or do you take 4 like Jeff Gordon did at Charlotte to win?
They'll be watching each other, I'd say.
Very closely.
Here comes Earnhardt down pit road.
And Rick Mast right with him. Only the 9, make that 8 lead lap cars can come in on this lap. So here comes Terry Labonte, Morgan Shepherd, Ricky Rudd, Bill Elliott. Mark Martin will be in. So might Dick Trickle. Oop, Trickle staying out. Glenn Jarrett in the leader's pit.
Everything going Dale Earnhardt's way today. He had put a set of tires on a little earlier in the race. He said they felt great. That's the set of tires he wanted to finish on. They didn't run them very long, came back in. That's the set they're putting on right now. That's the set of scuffs he wanted. He got the caution flag he wanted. The left sides are going on now. The right sides are only on. He'll be down and away with the set that he wanted. Randy?
Rick Mast already down and away. 1 round down. They're rooting for their driver to beat Earnhardt out. Does he do it?
No. You don't often beat Earnhardt out of the pits.
Brings up a point you talked about not long ago. Earnhardt having the pits at the far end down here. You can see him getting Darrell Waltrip out of the car right now. Everybody's there. That does not mean he's hurt because they have people around there. What they do is make sure he don't step out and fall down or what. And they want to make sure he's out of the car in proper form.
A lot of folks called and asked why Michael Waltrip was driving Dale Earnhardt's Busch car yesterday. It was because Earnhardt wanted to focus all his attention and efforts on this Winston Cup car and winning this Winston Cup championship. There's Darrell being helped from the car. He is standing and walking. He's okay. He's a little shaken up, but he's okay. We have just the aftermath of the Waltrip incident to show you. He's already in the wall once.
The bad part of that whole deal, the left side hit, the driver's side, and boy, I mean, it's like hitting twice as hard when you hit on the driver's side.
They'll remove Waltrip's car and we'll get back to green flag racing. Finish this one off. We'll be right back to Rockingham. Tonight at 8 o'clock live from Rockingham inside Winston Cup Racing with highlights and driver interviews from the AC-Delco 200 and 500. Now we're inside 10 laps to go. I'll show you the way they're running. So at 10 laps to go, they'll take the restart and it will be a single file restart. The 9 make that now 8 cars that are on the lead lap will line up first. Everyone else will be behind them single file.
Mike, it was a bunch of the guys in our group that we asked who was going to win this race, and when Earnhardt got 4 fresh tires with just a few laps to go, we seen the 1 car was not the dominant car in a quick run. So about half of them said, could we change our pick right now? No, Randy, you have to stay where you're at.
About half of them, no, Randy. Okay. Earnhardt's the leader. He was first off pit road on the caution. Rick Mast is trying to give Carter Richard Jackson his 2nd career victory. Talladega 1988, Phil Parsons gave him his first.
You know, if they had about 30 laps to go, he might could do it. But I feel like Buddy now. Since Earnhardt's got the 4 fresh tires on it, and Rick Mast seemed like he don't get to running good till about 10 or 15 laps. So the race will be over with him.
One thing about it, when the green comes out, we're going to find out because Rick Mast is hungry for a win.
9 laps to go, green flag. Earnhardt got a good jump on the restart. Trouble on Mast. Morgan Shepherd's all over him going into 1. As he had to check up, Terry Labonte goes high. Shepherd fends him off.
Earnhardt's car is the best I've ever seen on this.
Rick Mast, when he showered down on it, the back end jumped out on it. He actually spun the rear tires.
And as he comes around and goes past the scoring stand, Dale Earnhardt is the 1994 Winston Cup champion.
Awesome. Wow.
He wants to win it all today, not just the title, race, match, set.
Well, it's not over yet, guys. That 1 car is really running well right now, but closing in on Dale Earnhardt with 10 laps to go, that's almost an impossible task.
Ricky Rudd underneath Terry Labonte. Rudd coming back.
Excuse me. You see Morgan Shepherd there. He's moved back into contention too. He's pulling down on Mast just a little bit. So the first 3 cars, and then we have this great battle just behind them.
Well, we raced 490 miles to get this 9-lap shootout. And Mast is closing down on Earnhardt. does he have enough time?
6 laps to go.
No, he don't have enough time.
I think he does. I'm telling you, he's coming on.
He has enough
He's
time
coming
to catch
like
him.
bad news right now.
He has enough to catch him, but he don't have enough time to pass him.
Well, one thing about it.
There'll be humble pie served when the race is over.
We can say what we want to. The end results will be done on the racetrack and not from up here because Rick Masters is doing everything he can.
5 laps to go. There are the championship hats being passed out in the Earnhardt pit. But their mind and their attention's on the racetrack. This is not over. Rick Mast is within 3 car lengths.
Oh boy. What a way to win a championship if you close it out by winning the race itself. But right now he's got his hands full with Mast.
2 car lengths. Mast is really strong off turn 4. Really closes down on Earnhardt there. Back straightaway, still 2 car lengths the distance. They run past Michael Walton. Now here last lap is where Mast gained a lot of ground right here, closed right up.
He's running a little bit higher line, giving him a lot of straightaway speed off turn 4 there. Look at this bunch. You think they worry about a title right now? They want their driver to win his first race. That was Rick Mast's group there.
Still 2 laps to, or 2 car lengths rather. 3 laps to go.
Rick has just a little bit of push getting in the corner, which may be the undoing of the car. That's why he runs so well later on.
Yeah, if they had about 10 more laps to go, Rick might could do something with it.
2 to go. Moving past Todd Bodine. Shepard in 3rd, Rudd in 4th, Labonte in 5th, Mark Martin in 6th, Bill Elliott, Dick Trickle. Earnhardt gains a car length.
Just as they enter the corner there, he just cannot stay down like Earnhardt. White flag.
He's tough.
Boy. No matter who wins, I'm telling you, that's the drive of the year right there by Rick Mast to come back from such a wreck and to pull down on Dale Earnhardt like he's doing right now. Now that's Earnhardt's play right there. He does that.
Here comes Mast right to the bumper, slides it sideways, and Earnhardt holds him off to win the race and knock down his 7th Winston Cup championship.
David Pearson, he got a little bit of you in him. He slowed up just to make that look exciting.
Yeah,
I guarantee you.
He might have, but old David Pearson never would have done it. I've been scared he'd pass me.
He nearly did. Andy Petrie winning crew chief. Make that champion crew chief. And Earnhardt gives the crowd a big wave.
Man, oh man.
Rick Mast is 2nd, Morgan Shepard is 3rd, Ricky Rudd is 4th, Terry Labonte 5th, Mark Martin, Bill Elliott, Dick Trickle all on the lead lap. 1 lap down in 9th, Ward Burton, and 10th, Lake Speed.
Did you see that group on the wall there? We are worthy. All right.
And they are. That's a #1 team right there.
You know one thing, though, you can bet that 3 car will be in Phoenix just as tough as it is today, too.
Let's meet the championship car owner. Here's Glenn.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Richard Childress, on a great day, a win and the championship.
Yeah, you know, not a better way to end it for this good wrench racing team. You know, I'd just like to thank everyone that supported us all year and everything. And it's just been a great year, and Dale done a super job. He got after it as hard as he had to at the end. And, you know, I just want to thank everybody that supported us through the years. It just feels great.
Congratulations again. Dale Earnhardt's climb started to the top when he started racing for that man.
63 victories in Winston Cup racing. Some came for Bud Moore. Some came for Rod Osterlund. Most of them came for Richard Childress. It ended a 19-race winless streak. Earnhardt was last in victory lane at Talladega in May in the Winston 500. He is 6th on the all-time victory list with this 63rd career win. And he leads Rusty Wallace with 2 races to go by 448 points, an insurmountable margin. I think I'll stay around for a few minutes and talk to reporters today. I think so.
There's the new deal. The crew's throwing their gloves up into the stands. Pretty much like tennis there.
He won the battle today and the war. Dale Earnhardt. I'm sure you'll see him at Phoenix and Atlanta. But he'll be celebrating the championship, not chasing. One wheel mark on the side.
There's Ernie Irvin's crew out there.
Yep, they chased him hard for the championship. Now Earnhardt rolls to a stop at the center of pit road. And before they put him in the back of that convertible to parade him around the track to the attention of the fans, Glenn Jarrett will have a word with the new Winston Cup champion.
Well, he's still sitting in the car right now, Mike, collecting himself and putting on that championship hat, being congratulated by crew chief Andy Petrie. Clinching the title here, 7th on TNN. Dale Earnhardt, what a way to win it all.
It's unbelievable that we did it here at Rockingham, but I got to hand it to all the guys, and I tell you, I got to dedicate this to Neil Bonnet. He's been in my heart ever since we lost him, and he's really been close to us. And his family has suffered so much. I hope the best for them, Susan and everybody. But this one's for Neil. I reckon I have to give Ernie credit some too. Ernie worked awful hard for what he had, and was having a good time racing him. But it's been fortunate. It's great to have him back. But hey, it's great to win.
Dale, one more question. You had an awesome car all day. You worked on it, corrected the chassis, made adjustments on it all day. Was it hard for you to hold yourself in, knowing you had a car capable of winning a race, but knowing the title was on the line too?
Well, we was trying to be careful. You know, we started 20th, and the guys did a good job in the pits. Worked hard they worked hard every race we've been to. So it's just, I can't say enough about this Jim Goodwrench crew and all the folks with Jim Goodwrench and Chevrolet. You know, my family, Taylor and Kelly and Dale Jr. and Kerry and everybody back home, my mom, everybody does such a great job of supporting you all the time. And you win the race and get all the credit and get all the glory, but there's a lot of people behind me and a lot of people behind these guys that work on this race car and win this championship. Richard Childers, he's done a super job controlling them, keeping them under control, keeping them things to work with, and the best cars to race for me. It's unbelievable that we won 7, Glenn. I mean, it's just, it's amazing that we could do it. I thought nobody'd ever tie Richard Petty or catch Richard Petty's record as championships, but, you know, he's still the king. We're 7-time champion now.
I imagine you'll be back next year trying for number 8.
Why not? we're gonna be around for hopefully a long while yet. And, you know, this old race car keeps running good year after year, and the guys are doing a great job. And like I said before, Teresa and everybody, we're all happy. We just can't believe it.
We're hearing rumors. We've had some call-ins on the show today saying that you were going to go to IndyCar racing. Any truth to that?
No, I think Kyle had it said it best. I think he said we were going to go take a couple years off and go into space, go down to the Space Center and go into space program, go to the moon or something. I don't know.
All right, he's got the moon and the stars and everything in the heavens right now. Congratulations, Dale Earnhardt, clinching his 7th Winston Cup championship here on TNN.
Glenn Jarrett from the Split Fire Spark Plug Winner's Circle, the patented performance spark plug. If I heard that right, Earnhardt said the chance of him running Indy cars were about the same chance of him landing on the moon.
That's what I told you earlier. I know Earnhardt. He's got some things he wants to do yet.
Way to go!
Dale Earnhardt, now the 7-time Winston Cup champion. We'll be back to Rockingham after this. Celebration continues here at Rockingham. Let me correct one thing about 3-time championship winners. Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, Lee Petty. I better add Darrell Waltrip to that list before he comes and sees us Saturday at Phoenix. Darrell is also a 3-time Winston Cup champion. Randy Pemberton.
Well, Rick Mast certainly has the drive to be a champion in this sport, and he's getting closer all the time. We want to present Rick Mast's team and Kevin Hamlin, the chief wrench on this car, the Miller Genuine Draft Pit Crew Award of the race. Kevin, you guys did a fantastic job. Certainly didn't need that last caution coming out.
Well, no, we didn't. I think we could have got Dale there at the end if we wouldn't have had that caution, but I guess we'll never know. We'll have to wait till next week. These guys are a super bunch of guys. I can't say enough about them. They just don't give up. And Rick Mast doesn't give up, and we've got 2 more races left this year, and Skoll Racing team's going to be in victory lane, one of those 2.
Okay, good luck to you the rest of the season as Dale Earnhardt gets ready to take a lap around this track. Mike?
Thanks, Randy. On our Dover telecast, I mentioned that at Indianapolis, Ernie Irvin had a stay rod in the front fender break and come back into the tire that cut it down, ending his battle with Jeff Gordon. And that was the discussion Robert Yates and I had that evening. But what they later found was that when the tire came apart, it yanked the stay rod back away from the fender and caused that damage. So the stay rod and the fabrication of that car was not the cause of the tire going down. So for Gary Beveridge and all the fellas in the fabrication shop of Robert Yates Racing, we wanted to correct that story and make it official. The tire went down and then the fender damage was done. You see the big Get Well Ernie on the back of that car, and glad to have Ernie around here at Rockingham this weekend. Dale Earnhardt not sitting on the back of that Chevy convertible. He's standing atop it as he stands atop the Winston Cup. Standing. Welcome back to Rockingham as Dale Earnhardt celebrates his championship. Rick Mast ponders what might have been given a few more laps. Here's Glenn.
Well, he is pondering. There's that smile I wanted to see. Great job, Rick. You had an awesome car all day.
Well, I tell you, Glenn, I had a real good car running the first turn there when I was leading like a dummy. Got in the sacks and tore my car up, messed the body up, knocked the front end out of whack, knocked the rear end over. The guys kept working with it all day, getting it back. They probably got it back 95% at the end of the race. And, you know, my car would go good on long runs. I got by Morgan. I finally run Earnhardt down. I caught him. I was going to try to cool things off there, you know, to about 15 to go, and it would really make one long, hard shot at him. And I thought, like, you know, depending on how wide his bumper would get, I might have a good shot at him because he's awfully good here. Then the caution come out, and I knew I was dead. I actually, when I went back on that last restart, I was more concerned about keeping guys behind me than catching Earnhardt. But we made a couple adjustments on the last stop. The car worked a little better, you know, but I knew I couldn't beat him at the end. Boy, he ran a good race.
What about that last restart? Looked like he had a little bit of trouble getting up to speed there.
Oh, vapor lock. I've been having trouble all during the day. I tell you what I did, that whole lap to go, when I get one to go, I sit there idling the thing about 8,000, 9,000. You know what I mean? Just had the motor almost wide open trying to get it stopped vapor locking. It still wouldn't come up to speed, you know, so I don't know. We had something wrong there, but I've been doing that all day. It just saved till the end of the race to do it the worst.
Well, congratulations again, a career best second place finish. Good day for you.
We got 2 more races to get them yet.
Okay, back upstairs.
Thanks, Glenn. Rick Mast may move up from 18th in the point standings. Earnhardt wins the race and clinches the championship. Rick Mast finishes second. Morgan Shepherd is third. Ricky Rudd, the pole sitter, and Terry Labonte, the outside pole sitter. Bill Elliott, Mark Martin, and Dick Trickle all on the lead lap. Ward Burton and Lake Speed 1 lap down. 2 laps back, Jeff Burton, the highest finishing rookie. Then Dale Jarrett, Ted Musgrave, Sterling Marlin, and Kenny Wallace, the top 15. Mike Wallace, second highest rookie in the race. Joe Nemechek, Brett Bodine, Jeremy Mayfield, and Butch Miller. Todd Bodine, Rick Corelli, Darrell Waltrip against the wall. Randy McDonald, the Canadian rookie. John Andretti, 25th. Then Michael Waltrip, Hut Strickland, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, and Steve Grissom. Harry Gant, 31st in his final home state appearance. Kenny Schrader fought that car all day, picked up some points. Bobby Hamilton, Dave Marcus, Rusty Wallace, 35th. Kyle Petty, Derek Cope, Jimmy Spencer, Greg Sachs, and Jeff Bodine, 40th. Finally, Billy Standridge and Loy Allen Jr.